that they're maintained. And so the biggest one, we did the bandstand initially, but the largest building that we're really dealing with is the seminary. I'm sorry, the Nichols building. And we've completed a couple of projects to date on that. Back in, I don't know, maybe 2015 or so, the library trustees submitted a moose plate grant request for to repair the roof. That was granted. And then at that time, the library was responsible for the Nichols building. And then at a point, the town became responsible for it. And the Heritage Commission worked with Rich St. Hilaire to get out an RFP and make sure that the work was begun. And so that took place somewhere around 2017 at a cost of about $45,000. And I'm going to mention the cost because just so you get an idea of what the town spent on some of these projects. There are some projects in the capital improvement plan looking forward on the building. Well, actually, let me just say also, we just completed the masonry work on the building, and that was a significant project that we worked with Rich on as well. The scope of the work was huge. As the wing walls on the front stairs were totally deteriorated and had to be totally disassembled. The stones numbered and assigned a location, and then when the masonry work was in progress, they had to be replaced exactly where they had been previously and in the same position and so forth. So it was a huge project. The masonry work, the mortar work, again, was another huge part of the project. And so it was an extended period of time in completing that. That project cost the town about $140,000. So far, we've spent a substantial amount of money on that building. There are two other projects that we're looking at right now to try to complete, and they're in the capital improvement plan. One of them is to restore the stained glass windows in the building. There are 11 of them. And back in, I'd say, 2017, we had some individuals come in to give us estimates on the work and to kind of describe what needed to be done. And both of the individuals, who are very well-respected stained glass repair people, indicated that it was their opinion that the windows needed to be totally deconstructed, cleaned, and reconstructed, and broken pieces replaced with the same type of glass, all new leading between the pieces of glass. And so it was a major project. We had hoped to get a grant from the Arts Preservation or Conservation License Plate Program, or the Moose Plate Program. And we began to work on a grant, and unfortunately found out that grants for those kinds of projects can only be given to for work on buildings that are accessible. And certainly the Nichols Memorial Library is not accessible. There is also the potential for a grant if the town could attest that it was we had a long-term plan to make the building accessible, and certainly we don't have that. And so we couldn't really attest to that. So we abandoned that grant opportunity, and then at the same time just put the project on hold, realizing we'd had other projects coming, like the masonry and the roof. So that's a project that is in the capital improvement plan to cover the years 2022, 23, and 24. The estimate we got on that was about $22,000 to do all 11 windows. And so that's one of them. The other one was to actually redo and restore the double hung windows. They're old, they've got the old wavy glass in them. The sashes are starting to deteriorate. And so we had the same individuals give us estimates on those, and that came in at about $25,000 to do those. We have that project in the capital improvement plan for next year. So there's still some work that needs to be done. With the stained glass windows, we talked about changing our funding source on that. We had initially thought that we would go to the town for the funding for that project. But we also thought that those windows are really significant to the town. They're I mean, artistically beautiful, and they can be done individually or in small groups. And so we thought it might be possible to work on fundraising to have those stained glass windows restored. Kind of a thing that, if you could donate money and then do it in memory of a loved one or some other purpose. And so our thought was to try this year to begin a fundraising project on that. And so we have not yet set up a committee. We do need to set up a committee. And hopefully that might be one of the projects that the HDC, some of the HDC members might be interested in. And we're hoping for that anyway. So those are pretty much the projects at the Nichols building. Any questions on that or any thoughts?
Yeah,
Glenn?
You said it was about $22,000 for the restoration of all of the stained glass windows?
That was, yeah, in 2017, that was the estimate.
Okay. Any guess as to how much that it is per window? Just thinking if you were to be doing a fundraising and trying to get, someone perhaps to sponsor a window and get some recognition for it or do it in memory of or whatever, how much would we be looking for per window, do you think?
It varies. There are 11 windows, but some of them are smaller, I guess I would say, than others. And so, I'm thinking 1,500 to 2,500, maybe something like that per window, depending upon which window it was.
Okay. All right, good. Thank you.
Any other thoughts on that? Questions?
My only thought is that we definitely want this to be a project that we include the museum commission,
right,
and the HDC. All of us, we would like to have a team get together to do it as a joint effort between the three organizations, because the museum committee has the closest parts to that building of any group, and I think that they would be really proactive in making this happen. That was just my comment on that.
Great, thank you, Debbie. Appreciate that.
We needed somebody to stand down by Rite Aid or whatever. I could do that.
I think we're going to almost have to because of the value of this, it might take a little bit more organization and reaching out to people, of course, publicize it, but, maybe a little bit to individual peoples.
And even companies might take a window like Northland Forest or somebody.
Sure. Yeah, we're hoping.
So I think that the other point could we get some contributions towards, the museum itself, or do we just, whatever it's going to cost, is that's what you're doing? So those are the kind of things that I think that we would want to have, each organization have one or two people come and have a meeting at some point to kind of hash out those types of details.
Yeah.
Did everybody see Adam's comment about considering GoFundMe as a possible resource?
Yeah, I saw him pull up. Yeah.
That's an idea.
That was a good idea, Adam.
GoFundMe can make a lot of bucks.
Well, yeah, I think it's a great idea. And, we also consider things like getting the plaque on it. If an individual family, what do we want to acknowledge? Instead of having you sponsor a window, it would be nice to have a plaque. So those are some of the things we bounced around in the Heritage Commission meetings, but we'd like to have a team to put it together.
Debbie, do you know how many, or I bet Bob knows maybe, how many people kind of a head count for the museum team? How many people might that be? The reason I'm asking is I'm looking around at all our faces here, and we're all on so many committees and we're all busy and it seems like, I know it's the old story, the same people over and over again. And it would be wonderful to add more people. How many might the museum team add for a head count, if you will?
I think it depends on whether you talk about the museum committee itself, which is, I think, about 7 people, or the Friends Committee, which I think is another 7 or 8, or the volunteers that come out, and that can go up to 10 or 12. So it's something in that range. And
Okay, thank you.
there is a lot
Yep.
of overlap.
Right.
So you think that's something that the HDC would want to put someone on the committee for that? Is this?
Why not?
I'm on 2 committees already. Virginia, you're on 2. Glenn, how many are you on?
Sorry,
Ellie-
sorry, I
Ellie-
didn't mean to laugh.
And Ellie, I know, it's,
Yeah.
There-
I just don't, I'm
So
on
we-
a lot of committees.
yeah. I think that's the nature of the whole group of us here, is that we do stretch ourselves a little thin because we, you know, we
Yeah.
are on a lot of different things, have a lot of different activities, so.
Okay,
But you'll buy one, right? Just kidding.
but how about someone like Ralph Murphy in the future? And now he's not been able to do Zoom meetings.
Right,
He doesn't have the technology to do that, but
Yeah.
he's eager to work with people. I don't know if you were meeting, if the vaccine arrives, people will start to meet in person. If
Yeah.
you meet in person, he would be helpful. You can always contact him on the telephone. I'd be willing, Susan, to call Ralph and see if he'd like to do that.
okay, that would be great, Virginia, if you wanted to. He does, you know, even though he doesn't keep up with he doesn't attend the Zoom meetings, he is keeping up to date on what we're doing as a commission, so.
Yes.
So yes, I think he would love to be included in that, or at least asked, you know.
Somebody wanted to come into the meeting. Now I've lost him. Keep going. I'll figure this out.
All right. Thank you for all the comments on that. Thanks, Debbie, for that input. And I just noticed that I went out of sequence here on the agenda. We should have started with the Sanborn Seminary. And so I apologize for that. So Debbie, do you want to go ahead and lead us on that?
So we finally got in the application from Chinburg for 79E. At this point, that I don't think the school still owns the property, but everything is starting to get set up. The Heritage Commission has been invited, you know, as part of the plan. HDC Heritage Commission planning. There's a group of people who are going to review these applications with the selectmen and help to support the selectmen in this. On our team, we Ernie and I talked about it. He's going to take the lead because as a chairman, he would have the ability to make a flash decision if it's needed. We want this to move along quickly. We looked at the 79E application as submitted, found it a little bit light. We were kind of surprised to see, and maybe the that you guys have some input on this, that it only had the seminary building. We were assuming that it would be the secondary building since he was going to use it for housing, but perhaps it's not a contributing asset to the historic district, so thereby it wasn't included. But that's one thing that we could, you know, we were kind of surprised about, that it was just the one building. We have, you know, we'll start going to the meetings and things like that. But the couple of things that we've already talked about is this, the contract does not have anything in it that gives a long-term preservation after the 9 years that they could get under the current laws of being a 5-year and then the extra 4 years for the historic property aspect of it. So we could have for 9 years a preservation agreement on this property, but we're hoping somehow at this time, we can always also get them to extend it out after the 9 years. We'd hate to see that happen after 9 years, to have some changes made.
Can I interrupt for a second, please?
Yeah.
As a building that belongs actually still to the school, it didn't fall under, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but it didn't really fall under the jurisdiction of the HDC. However, now that this is going to be a privately owned building, property, it will fall under our jurisdiction as part of HD1, so that any changes that they want to make to the building along the way will come before us.
Okay, good. So we don't really need to add on any.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's sort of your built-in safeguard, is this commission.
Awesome.
Yes, Ellie.
I need to jump in here because I think we've got two issues going. That's in order for the sale to be consummated, they need approval for tax relief under 79E. I did not read the application when it came to the Board of Selectmen, I don't know, a week and a half ago or so. We just wanted to get it to the group that's been formed to review the application so that can be ascertained as appropriate. Is there enough material in there to make a decision? Did they cross all the T's and dot the I's? And they've done this before, so I assume that it would have been correct, and that's probably the wrong thing to have done, is to make an assumption.
Well,
They being Eric Chinberg has talked with myself and with Phil Coombs in particular to kind of iron out some of the details for the type of tax relief they want. So that's pretty much set. We did not talk about an easement, and that's something that should be done. And I believe they're going to have, I think it's 11 years, whatever the max is. I think it's 11. It's 9 plus it's 11 because the first 2 years it's 2 years under construction. So there really is an 11-year window, because once the construction is done, then the clock starts ticking on the 9 years of additional tax relief until the project is completed and so forth and so on, at which point they get reassessed at full market value at that time. So we've already done the assessment so far for them. They'll pay about $10,000 in taxes now once the sale is complete, but they need the approval in order to close the deal with the school. Then it becomes private property.
Right.
The Board of Selectmen did set up a hearing, I want to say on February 1st, at that meeting that night, for the public, because we have not announced what the terms of the tax relief is, and cannot do that until it gets through this process here. If that's too short a window, you should let us know soon. I didn't think it would be a problem. That's again, but I really did not read the application, and I'll probably ask Susan Ayer for a copy so I can take a look at it now and see what's missing. But I would also suggest calling up Mr. Chinberg and speaking directly to him and see whether it's appropriate for him to add the science building, which is not of historic value. It's not the same as the seminary building, and he may not have thought he had to include that in the plans. That would be my guess, because it's from the 70s. It's not from the late 1800s.
Well, and the other thing I was surprised not to see on the application is I thought that he was also looking for federal monies, and that box was not checked off. So
That's changed. I know that has changed. I don't think he's applying for federal relief.
okay. So I guess that would be one of the comments at the meeting, to go forward before everything is finalized. What about the other building? The other thing that we would also, I'm just trying to give you a general overview. The other thing that we thought about was if they decide that they're not going to use the stained glass windows or some other historic asset building rather than get rid of it if they would donate it back to the town. I don't think this application is the place to put that in there, but I think that while the conversations are going on, we would like to see, kind of have an understanding that something.
And he has said that when in many meetings with Mr. Chimberg, he has clearly stated his objective is to maintain as much of the integrity building as he can, and that if there's some aspect that he cannot incorporate, he would offer to the town as for first refusal. So that he's clearly stated that right along.
Good. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
And he is it has been told that the building is in the historic district and building permits and applications for certificates of approval and stuff will have to come before
Yes.
our board.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Well, we didn't say, I don't know that he knows there is a whole application process,
Okay,
right? And he has talked about some fees that might be waived or not, as the case may be. Yeah. So he's well aware of that. This is not for a good thing for us. This is not his first time at the rodeo. And he does a tremendous job. We're not going to have problems with this man, but it doesn't hurt to make sure that the contract has inclusion in the easement that we want, or that if there's material that is of historic relevance, that the town has first refusal if we can't use it. I think those should be part of the 79E, a conditional approval, for example.
Yeah, that would be
I
great.
think it makes it real simple to do it that way. Yeah, I don't see it's pushback, but a call to him would be appropriate as well.
And we have the forms to swear everybody in for 79E. Susan made them up.
Yeah, we signed them, Board of Selectmen signed them last night.
Yep. So they're ready to pick up at town hall, anybody that's going to be on that.
So we
Great,
need,
thank you.
and any of us who have been assigned to do that, we need to do it prior to the public hearing on February 1st.
Correct.
and February 1st is the first meeting for that.
No, it's a select board meeting to have a hearing on the proposal. So we'd like your blessing before that, because I just postpone. If you're not all set with the application or the subcommittee, then we need to postpone that hearing. But my thinking is, it's been almost a year and we really need to go to that deliberative session and be able to tell the voters, yeah, we're done and this is moving forward. And the school is anxious to move forward on this either and get it off their books as well. I mean, it's coming out of our pockets either way you look at it, but until it's transferred over to Mr. Chimberg, then it's coming out of one of our pockets, if not both.
So the 79E committee has to come up with a date to meet before the February 1st.
Correct.
So I'm on it. Glenn, you are as well. Who else on this meeting is?
I'm on it.
I think.
Who said that?
I think Ellie is.
No,
you
I'm
on
not.
79E?
I'm not.
No, I think it's Susan, me, Glenn, Richard Wilson, I believe,
Oh, yeah, yes.
and maybe Evie Nathan.
No,
Nathan.
Margie.
Yes. I
Margie.
think
My wife
we're on
Margie's
it.
on it, not Evie.
Oh, Maggie.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I
Margie's
saw her on the
Margie's
meeting
on
list.
it.
All
You're
right.
right, Margie's on
So we
it.
got to start emailing each other and try to come up with a day to first of all, go over the application, read it, and
And Zoom together.
we'll do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
As I said, we found it very light, so there might be some things that need to change when,
Okay.
our first.
Yeah, I think in the application, it does mention the science building, but it doesn't really talk about what the expectation is as far as how many years leaf beyond the first 5 that they would want for that. I mean, the application basically, it talks about the 2 buildings, but it says 9 years of tax relief, but you got apples and oranges when you're looking at 2 different buildings there. So I think that the application really needs some clarification around that, but we can talk about that when we get together as a group.
Okay.
So
Just
now-
just a quick question. Are we asking them to preserve the science buildings? Is that actually the scope of the project, or is it just the seminary itself?
It's my
I think
understanding
that's-
it's predominantly the seminary, but they also talked about preserving some of the 70s look to the building.
Right.
Because that building was, and Mr. Chimberg specifically talked about that.
Yep.
That we don't realize it, but that's 50 years ago,
Right.
or close
Right.
to it. So he wasn't talking necessarily in terms of history like the seminary, but it is a period piece. So
Right.
he did talk about kind of maintaining a certain element of style for that era, for that decade, if you will.
And it will need to, it will definitely need changes to make it into a residential building with apartments. But
And
it
it
will
would-
definitely have to blend in with the historic district as well. So
Correct. That's
um,
correct. That's
yeah.
correct.
I
Yeah.
think he got that.
Yeah. Oh, no, I don't think there's any question of that.
Yeah.
And he pretty much talked about studio in one bedroom.
Yep.
So there
Okay.
might be 4 or 5 2-bedroom, but predominantly studio in one bedroom. So
Okay.
that precludes a heavy younger population, if you will.
Yeah, good.
Excellent.
Right. Who would somebody like to take a lead on organizing that meeting of this committee?
Is there one person in charge of that already, or is just all of us are on the committee?
The select board just put one together. I mean, just we picked someone from HDC, someone from planning. Glenn
Okay.
Greenwood, I think, is also on there.
He
Okay.
is.
As an advisor, yeah.
He's an advisor. That's correct.
Now, this is a committee supporting the selectmen's work. So would it be appropriate for the selectmen's rep on that committee to sort of lead the charge on it, or no?
Since he's not on this phone call, I think it's totally appropriate.
Yep.
Sounds
sure
like we have
he
a
had another-
chairman.
I'm sure he had a conflict. Don't get me wrong. That's not like Rich not to come to a meeting, but this way I can bust his chops and then he can get back at me later. How's that sound?
I think that's a great idea.
I think so
All in
too.
favor?
Please don't reflect that in the minutes, Marissa.
So we'll wait to hear from Richard on how we're going to get together.
I'll let him know in the morning that he's in charge. How's that sound?
Thank you, Ellie.
Yeah,
Thanks for that suggestion, Glenn.
All right, we'll start some sort of an email roundabout and get this going. If February 1st is going to sneak up on us pretty quickly, so
Yeah.
let's get it done next couple of weeks. All right.
Absolutely.
And that's not to say you can't tweak things in between. Don't get me wrong. You can have a memorandum of understanding and many options that allows us to move forward. He wants to know he's got a done deal before he does a thing.
Right.
Sure.
And just so everyone knows, once he takes control of the property and everything is set in that regard, and he starts making applications to the town for site plan review and all of that, he'll first come to the HDC, and then after that he'll be going to planning board. So he's got a couple of steps
Right.
to go through, but certainly all of the historical nature of the property and the look and feel of it and all of that is all going to be handled at HDC, and some of the more site specific issues with regard to maybe infrastructure and things like that will probably tend to fall more into the planning board's realm, but and some of the aspects will be overlapping. So
Sure. Right.
in fact, I hate to jump the gun on this too far, but at some point in this process, especially for expediency, there might be a good reason for planning board and HDC to do a joint meeting on this.
I think so too. Yes.
Maybe not initially, but at some point it might become appropriate, and just want folks to be thinking about that.
Sure. As the process proceeds, they're trying to make sure that they get that relief that they're looking from the Board of Selectmen. And the Board of Selectmen can't rule on it or make it public until we adopt their request for 79E relief.
Right. Yep.
So it's and then all the customary building process goes forward.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
And keeping in mind, this is, I think it's my understanding that this is just the first 79E application. We may get more from other properties eventually too. So
Right.
I think it's going to be.
There's not a lot that would qualify.
Right.
Right. And I'm thinking of the Bakey store building.
Mhm.
That would be the other one, I think, that's in it's only HD1.
Yeah.
So there really isn't a lot to choose from. But this
Yeah.
would be
Well,
the
I think in a
7th.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, we're fortunate that he's the first one as a reputable businessman who has done these in other locations.
Yes.
You know, that's my opinion, that, and he's not one to, so far what I've seen, to take advantage of us. So I really think we're fortunate to have someone like him for our first one, his company.
And we will learn a lot from the process through him, since he has done it before and he has a class act.
Yeah.
So we will gain the experience that we need to go forward. Assuming we even expand the 79E to HD2, you know, we may decide to do that, but
Right.
I think it's a good learning experience all the way around.
Yeah.
Before we finish our discussion, I see several times, I think Clifford is Eileen, and it looked like
Yes,
she wanted
it
to
is.
speak. So Eileen, we
No, I
can
didn't.
see your face, but I wanted to honor your wish to speak if you wanted to.
No, I didn't want to speak, but
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right.
I probably made a noise. I'm not muted, so maybe I mumbled or something.
It's okay. I just wanted to see them not leave anybody out.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Virginia.
Hey, anything else on that? Nope. Okay, good. So now following the agenda, now back into it. The Grace Daily Barn and Complex. That's another one of the town's buildings that really needs some work. The Heritage Commission went into the New Hampshire Preservation Alliance to try to get a barn easement grant to have a building assessment done on the Grace Daily Barn, and we were successful. So we now do have a grant to do that assessment. Yesterday, a fellow was in who is an expert in restoration of old barns to do his visit and to gather as much information as he could about the barn and its condition. And he will prepare a report to the Preservation Alliance, which they will then send to us, which will outline the work that needs to be done on the barn, as far as and sequencing of the work, what is most critical, what is not as critical, and options for some of the repair work, and provide a budget estimate as far as what the work will cost. So he has 3 months to do that. We've been working with Rich St. Hilaire on the project. And so our next expectation for the Grace Daily Barn will be to get that report in and see what work needs to be done. There's a CIP project on that, on the Grace Daily Barn. We've put in a placeholder of $25,000, but that's just a guess. It could be more, it could be less. But at this point, at least we're ongoing with the process, and we'll hopefully get to begin to work on that next year as a project. The other thing we're doing is another option we have is to do something similar with the old firehouse. The New Hampshire Preservation Alliance has building assessment grants for that purpose as well. The barn assessment grant is one separate program that they have, but they do have a grant program for building assessments for other buildings. And they are either mini grants of $500 or they're much larger grants, depending upon whether they believe the work would need to be done. Any work that would need to be done would be very expensive, and that we would need something like an L-chip grant. And so it's an option for us to go in to do that. We would need to have somebody to work on writing that grant, similar to what we did for the barn assessment grant. Right now, we don't have anybody on the Heritage Commission who's in a position to do that. But if somebody from the Historic District Commission would want to kind of partner with us on that, we could potentially get some folks involved in that. But anyway, that's one of the plans that we have for the future, would be to try to get an assessment grant also for the old firehouse building. And if we can do that, that will give us a pretty good idea of what all of the buildings need as far as restoration work, with the exception of the tramp house. And I'm not sure that we could get a grant to do an assessment of that small building, but that's where we are with Grace Daly Barn and the old firehouse. Any questions on that at all?
Yeah, Ernie?
Glenn? Yep.
The tramp house being such a small structure, maybe it could be combined with an application along with the firehouse.
We can check on that.
I mean,
Yep.
they're adjacent to one another and they're sort of related.
Yes. Well,
What
actually,
What
Go
about
ahead,
the
Ellen.
cobbler shop?
I was just going to say that was what I had in mind when I said tramp house. But yeah, the cobbler shop is one that needs to be restored, I think, but I don't know that we could get a grant on that.
Yeah.
But we're in progress anyway, at least on the Grace Daly barn and hopefully on the old firehouse.
So after you get the assessment, that gives you an idea of how much it's going to cost and what it's going to need, and then what, you put it out for bid?
Yeah, it'll be a rough estimate. I mean, he can give us an estimate that he thinks is reasonable, but certainly we'd have to put it out for bid and then get some specific costs. Part of it, though, can be done by the town folks. For instance, part of the problems that we have with it is drainage off of the roof and how that affects the foundation and the sills. And so some of that work the town folks could do as far as regrading around the building and so forth. Some of the other work potentially they could do as well. So what we'd have to do once we get it, Rich will have to take a look at it and kind of determine what his folks can do and what either they are not capable of doing or something that perhaps requires some particular machinery or skills that we just don't have at the town level. So once we get the report, Rich will do that analysis and then we'll determine where to go from there. I would suspect though that some of the work will have to be done on contract. Any questions? Other questions on that? No. Okay, Debbie, you want to talk about the Plain Cemetery?
I do. So a couple of people on this call, remember maybe 2 years ago or so, we had a meeting with the Division of Historical Resources about how to promote Kingston. And one of the suggestions that came out was get some more things on the national and state registries. First, we considered doing a whole district-wide, and then we thought maybe we would do individual locations and sites and have a more volume on the registry. So working with the Division of Historical Resources as a CLG community, we were given 100% grant to have an application for the Plain Cemetery prepared for national registry listings. So we've been working on that. There's Maddie, you've been on the team, me, and we've been working with Preservation Company out of Brentwood to prepare the registry. The application for the registry. So right now we're in a pretty good spot. They've been working on it. Fortunately, they had, we spoke to them a couple of weeks ago, and they couldn't get a plot of who was where in the cemetery. And Brad Maxwell came through with a great map. I think that's been shared with the Ernie, with the museum committee at this point. So we're getting a lot of information. We expect to get more documentations. So not only will we end up with an application, but we'll know even more about the cemetery. So it's a very exciting project. We have in that cemetery, as everyone here probably already knows, not only do we have historical people in there, we have things like the epidemic happened. So there's an area where there's a lot of people who died from an epidemic. There's also, we have a lot
Recently,
of stone. Sorry?
recently. Be careful there.
And then we have a lot of very unique stones headstones in there. So we really believe, based on everything that we've heard, that we have an excellent opportunity to get this application approved and listing it on the registry. We want this especially when we started with the cemetery, is because the cemetery needs a lot of work. The headstones need some work. There's other items, and we believe we can get grants with this registry status. So that's why we picked the Plains Cemetery first. It needs some work, and we want to get, to the status so we can apply for more grants and get things fixed up there as needed, or preserved as needed. So that's pretty much what I have to say about the application and the CLG grant and the Plains Cemetery.
It's such an amazing cemetery. The history that's there. I know Josiah Bartlett is buried there, but there's so much more. What was it, 2 years ago, Ernie, that we had the tour through the cemetery?
Right.
I can never remember that guy's name, but he was great.
He was excellent.
And all that he knew, and the age of those stones is just remarkable. I think when we get our energy up and Envision Kingston 2 gets going on some of those plans, what a great place to advertise that people would find an interesting walk. It's just an amazing place.
Ernie and I were talking about that, and we thought we had a very nice event when we dedicated the bandstand from the grant that we got to preserve the bandstand. And we were like, wouldn't it be great if all of this goes through by next year, that we could have another event similar to that, COVID-19 over, beautiful. Well, maybe that's a little morbid, but
I don't think so.
we would like to get this grant through and have another celebration like that for the town. And that's just another thought, speaking to you, Virginia, about bringing in more notice of that building and seeing if we can get another grant to get Glenn Knobback back for that event to kind of do that presentation again.
You know what I was just thinking about, after you get the cemetery on the National Historic Register, I don't know if you've ever seen, I go to a lot of old cemeteries when I do genealogy over in Ireland, and a lot of them have at the entrance to the cemetery, not really a billboard, but a map that stays out in the weather of where people are, which is pretty cool, and also a list so that you can actually go and read and see a name and then go find them on the map and then go into the cemetery and find the actual grave site. Those are really cool and very, very helpful for people who are trying to locate.
That's an awesome idea, because what we found out is that, we always go on that, people who are looking for historic people go on that cemetery online. They don't have that information in their database. Right. So I think that would be awesome.
And I bet you could get a grant, or, have a GoFundMe or something where you could raise money to get that billboard made.
Well, we have a heritage fund, and this is the things like what Ernie's talking today about the barn, the little items that are a little bit more because it's historic, signage, things like that. That's why we were trying to build that heritage fund for items like that. Exactly.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I
A lot of good ideas.
Know that just as you leave, there's a headstone that has the epitaph that I'm going to put on my gravestone. She hath done what she could.
And then some.
So true.
That's me.
More than her share.
Be good.
That's a great.
Okay. I guess the last thing on the Heritage Commission side of the agenda is federal and state registry. The Historic and Cultural Resources chapter to the master plan has a goal in there or a recommendation about listing additional sites to the state and national registers. And that was part of the impetus for the Plains Cemetery grant. And most major grant programs require that the subject property be either listed on or eligible to be listed on the state or national register. And so for us, you know, in improving the buildings and things that we have, it's helpful to have those facilities on a state or national register if we think we're going to wind up doing some major work on them and require some grants for them. So that's part of the thing that we really want to do as far as the registry. And again, the Historic and Cultural Resources chapter to the master plan also recommends that. And in fact, it recommends a number of different items, not only related to buildings and things of that nature, but a lot of different items that can be done in the town. And it also identifies parties that should be involved in those activities. And there's a lot of overlap, and in a lot of cases, it includes, you know, the HDC and HC and Conservation Commission on a potential project to view landscapes in town or scenic scapes in town, or a variety of other things. So I would encourage you to take a look at that chapter, at least the goals and objectives at the end of it, if you haven't already checked it, to look at the different projects that and the different types of things that we could do together. There are some places in town that have been determined in some respects to be eligible for the state or national register. And there's a possibility that for us to look at those. For instance, the bandstand, I believe, has been determined to be eligible for the state register of historic places. And so if we were interested in getting that on the register, I think it's something that's very doable. Having things on the register, it helps with grants, but I think it also helps from the standpoint of establishing that historical nature of the town and our heritage. And as we look at, as I think Virginia said, envision Kingston, it will help to enhance a possibility of people coming into the town to actually look at all of our historic assets. So probably getting some things on the national and state register would be helpful in that respect. There are other parts of town that may be eligible for the national register. There was a study done in I think 2003 when they were widening Route 125 that looked at the section of Newton Junction Road that's possibly eligible for the national register. So I don't know whether that's something that one would want to look at or not. But I guess I'm just saying there are a number of different areas in town and a number of different buildings in town that could be eligible. Some of them are, you know, the town owns, and some of them are privately owned. But it could be something that we could take a look at as a joint group to determine whether or not we would want to go forward on that. Any thoughts on that? Questions?
We still have the Peasley Tavern down at the on the old Coach Road. That one still has a ballroom upstairs that's owned by Sumner Kelman. Still intact.
Yeah.
Right. There are a lot of buildings like that. The Peasley Tavern, the Masonic Building is probably eligible for registration on the National Register. You know, the old Bakey store may be eligible for the state register. I think that it's just something for us to think about. And, you know, if we want to start to encourage folks or organizations who have buildings like that, you know, it could be a good thing for us to do.
Yeah, to partner with them and say, well, we'll support you in your application.
Right.
We also have the Union Hall down in West Kingston, down beyond my house, Danville Road.
That's right.
Owned by the First Free Will Baptist Society of West Kingston, New Hampshire, which I'm the president of.
All right.
And
we may be able to convince them.
Yeah, Bob Griffin is the secretary. Yeah.
Okay.
There aren't many people left.
I know there was the big project with Envision Kingston talking about the Plains area. Would they ever consider making the Plains, just the Plains, on the National Register to help get a grant toward the project for reconfiguring down there?
You know,
Good question.
yeah, that's a really good question because, you know, and Glenn just brought it up recently that, you know, there's the TAP project's coming up again. The problem that we had with that, so Maddie, that's a really good idea, is that that's not really, we weren't sure if that was really the Heritage Commission's application, if you know what I mean. It's a TAP grant. It's for, you know, it is for trails and for beautifications. Probably not explaining it as well, maybe as Glenn or Ernie can, but that's I don't know if I don't know if it would be the whole district or if we could just do Plains. You know, I'm just yeah, that's something to consider.
We wanted to do the sidewalks in the one way, which never got done.
Yeah,
Well, that was a
great.
big, I mean, I didn't think that was an imminent project. There were still other things that needed to be done before we even got there. So no one's done anything on that.
Right.
But we haven't even, our first project was the seminary building, and that we're not out of the gate on that one yet either.
Right.
So,
Right.
you know, that Envision 2 is a 20-year project easily.
Yeah, yeah. And something like the TAP grant is something that we would, you know, probably have to have the town sponsor it because it might go beyond the historic view of it. You know, that's what we were talking, or using some of our funds and things like that for that project.
Yeah, well, the TAP, Transportation Alternatives Program is federal money that comes every 2 years through the State Department of Transportation, and it's for improving walkability and accessibility and improving, you know, transportation in an area, in a community. And so it really isn't historically related at all. It just happens to be that we were looking at it as a way of improving some of the transportation and pedestrian access in and around HD1. It seemed to fit really well there. So it isn't a historical grant at all. It's really transportation related, and it does only come once every 2 years. So Debbie was mentioning that I brought it up again only because I got notice that we're in that every other 2-year cycle now, and I realize we haven't been talking about it, but just wanted to make sure that it didn't fall off our radar. So, and as far just my 2 cents on the possibility of you know, having the Plains perhaps on the register. You know, if you're going to go that far, it might very well be that HD1 as a unit be considered for that.
Oh, yeah.
But that's another big project, and so.
Yeah.
I looked into that way back many years ago, and it was such a huge project, and then some big project came that we needed to deal with at the moment, and that kind of went by the wayside. I believe that possible, but this is working. A grant writer and all sorts of
Virginia, you're kind of breaking.
his po-
Virginia, you're very glitchy.
You're breaking out.
I'm sorry.
Glitchy.
Breaking out.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. It was smooth before, but not right now. I don't know why.
Okay.
Have you got other people in the
Sorry.
house accessing the internet?
I'll go check on him.
He's in trouble
Or you-
now.
Or if your Bluetooth is on or something like that sometimes.
But then, you know, when we had the meeting with the New Hampshire, the Division of Historical Resources, that's where we started with HD1. And then we thought when we started talking about it, we're trying to promote things. So that's why we started to pick off pieces. So I didn't think at the time, I don't remember discussing the planes, but that might be a piece because proving the whole HD1, as Virginia said, is a big project. These, if we can get a one-off little grant to fund it, like we've gotten this, you know, if the planes, I don't know if it falls under the qualifications because, but it does have historic significance. I mean, you look at every town activity happens on the plane when it's the whole community.
Right.
So,
Well,
Yeah,
it's also one of the largest in the state of New Hampshire,
yes,
Yep.
yeah.
still
It's got
surviving.
trees that
Yeah.
need taken care of, and the grass needs fertilizing.
So if we could get grant money, you know, if we can get the registry, we can maybe pursue some other monies to, you know, as you said, beautification or all kinds of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
Yeah. I do think Glenn's idea, though, is worthy of a lot of review also, because I suspect that with this the certified local government program, that may be the type of a grant that they'd want to see us involved in, because I think they do like to have historic districts listed on the National Register when it's appropriate, and certainly ours. It has been determined eligible for the National Register. So really, we just need to get a grant with enough money to get a consultant in to actually do that. So I think we really ought to look at both of those pretty closely. Okay, that was, I think, what we had from the Heritage Commission as far as projects we're working on. We'd love to hear from the Historic District Commission about things that you're working on that we need to be aware of.
Well, we're a little bit different because we're a land use board, so we don't really do projects per se. We, as you know, we deal with applications that come before us for people who are doing repairs or other things on their properties in the HD. So we are more reactionary. We also do a lot of advising when people come in wanting to do some repairs or building construction, new construction even. We do a lot of advising, but we're not really very project oriented like you guys would be on your commission. So can you guys you HD people think of anything as a board that we do? I mean, we have we're trying to come up with a sign ordinance because our sign ordinance in town is a little weak. I would like to start. My own personal pet peeve is these little teeny sheds that keep coming up all over the place. I've talked with Robert Stewart about them. There's really no cut and dried verbiage, I don't think, that I've found for these little Home Depot sheds that people keep putting up, but they are a structure and they do theoretically need to come before the HDC for approval. So that's my own pet peeve that I'd like to start working on. That's a different kind of a project than you guys work on.
And lighting.
Lighting. Yeah, lighting in general.
There's
Well, I
gonna
mean,
be something on the ballot on lighting.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
well, as Susan said, the function of the HDC is very different than something like the Heritage Commission. It is a land use board. It's a regulatory type of body. It grants approvals for doing certain kinds of things within the district, you know, falling under the guidelines of maintaining the look and feel of the district, and all of that is laid out in the ordinance and in the regulations. I mean, we have gotten involved in projects in the past. There was a time when we were trying to improve visibility and exposure for the district, and we created what was it, Virginia? It was a walking tour and a little brochure to go with it. And
We had a walking tour, and I had Bob turn off what he was looking at on the iPad. Am I coming across better now?
A little bit, but you're
No.
a little glitchy. No.
Wow, that's funny. It wasn't before. Anyway, we have a walking tour, and when we've had activities on the planes, Ernie's put it in the booth, and we did quite a project of having an article, a corner in the newspaper to tell about different buildings and the library, the Grace Daly House when it was there, etc. I was thinking that maybe calling up some of those articles and adding to the Heritage Commission website with material that we've created but doesn't get shared a lot might be a good idea. So I was wondering if you've made any progress, Ernie, on working on your website.
The Facebook page, you mean? The website?
Yes, I'm sorry, I did mean the Facebook page, yes.
Yeah. We haven't gotten very far on that to this point, Virginia. We're still working on that.
But, you know, the Heritage Commission is a land use board also. So, but we have a broader scope for sure, because we're not just allowed in the historic districts. We can go throughout the whole community. But the one project, which is my
In the
favorite
hysteric
project.
districts, that was good.
Yeah.
Oh, did I hear say hysteric? Sorry, folks. That was a glitch.
Flip through.
Oops.
And one of the most, most things, like we still pass out those, that project that you did, Virginia, that you were talking about, of the walking tour of Kingston. So, I mean, that would be something that, if you have like the blueprints or updated blueprints or something like that, that might be another cool thing that we can get out there, an updated walking tour.
Yeah.
From you guys have a lot of documentation. When we go for a grant, you have a lot of knowledge about the buildings that we could say are distinguished. So that's kind of what we're kind of hoping for, this kind of cooperation between, we have it, of course, between our organizations, but that's kind of the point of why we wanted to work with you, I think.
I like being invited to be on different boards like the 79E or the cemetery project and all. I think that's really important, because whoever's on one of those boards brings that information back to us and keeps us up to date. That's
Can I make a comment at this point? One of the biggest things about two separate boards is that left to their own devices, they become silos. They tend to go do their own thing and not necessarily know what the other is doing. One of the benefits at the meeting tonight is for you folks on HDC to understand a little bit about what Heritage Commission is doing, and for us to try to get a glimmer of an understanding about what HDC is doing. That is a way that we can both help each other. As you can tell, we've got a fair amount of projects going, but
Yeah.
as a board, we're resource limited, and you can't run any more projects than you've got people that are capable of running them. You've got to have enough people to do the job. And so part of us talking to you is a little bit of outreach and hoping that maybe some way or other we can work together and get more done with the two groups than either one of our groups could do individually.
Very well said, Bob. Thank you.
Yep. Good point.
Thanks.
Okay. We're at 6:45. The next topic on the agenda was brainstorming other topics of mutual interest. Are we in a position to do that, or for the next 15 minutes, or do we want to just let you guys on the HDC get prepared for your next meeting? It's go either way.
We've
Well, if we
discussed
start
a lot of ideas tonight already,
Yeah.
and they, I think, should be reflected in the joint notes, and then in and of itself is effectively what a brainstorming would do. Unless there are any other ideas that we haven't talked about that people want to discuss, maybe we just leave 5 minutes of open discussion to see if anybody's got any other ideas that they think we should consider.
I don't know if it's
roundtable. Go around and give everybody a chance.
I don't know if it's really appropriate. We had the And please, Virginia or Glenn, tell me to be quiet if you don't want to me talking about this. We did have the owners of the Bakey store come and talk with us a little bit about repairs, extensive repairs that need to be done to the exterior of that building. I feel like it's, and they haven't come back. They were going to come back the next month, and now they haven't been back for at least a couple of months. I'm wondering if it's appropriate to reach out to the owners and suggest that they go the 79E route, maybe to be able to really put some serious money into restoring the building instead of just patching it up the way it has been, obviously patched up pretty cheaply.
They were aware of that, Susan. Someone did tell, they talked to us about it at one of the meetings they had come to. They originally had said, no, we're not going to go that way. And then they said, well, gee, maybe we should, because it was an opportunity to save some taxes. But they have to invest a serious amount of money in order to even qualify.
I see, yeah.
According to the RSAs, I believe it's $75,000 or more, which is why the average home within the HD1 who wanted to put siding on would not qualify for any kind of tax relief.
I see.
They are aware of it, for sure, because they did come up in discussions at the hearing we had with them.
Right.
And
They may
I
not
think
be back because of the COVID. I mean, there's just so many other constraints.
Yeah.
Well, I think they were also up against the the winter season, and
Yes.
and we did have, they were before us twice, I think.
Yes.
just, was it, oh, maybe.
Once for sure.
Once for sure, maybe twice.
Yeah.
And it got to be a pretty involved discussion because the HDC was wanting to have a lot of detail from them as to what they were planning to do, and there was some dialogue back and forth, and I realize that I hate to say too much because it's probably just my personal opinion, but it was part of the public process, and I think that as with so many of these projects, Mr. Chinberg excluded from my statement here, that oftentimes these projects are done trying to save money and not necessarily trying to maintain historic integrity or design. So, and I think that got made pretty clear during the meeting, and maybe that wasn't something that the owners were really interested in doing. I don't know, but we were up against winter, so it might very well be weather related.
Right.
Don't forget also, they didn't, I'm not sure they understood the depth of the inquiry that the HDC was making. Remember, we talked quite a bit about the original window that was above by the peak, which they had taken out, and they didn't even think of it in terms of historic value. So it may have been an eye opener for them as an owner to realize that there are other issues at stake when doing renovations on a building in the historic district.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're the stewards of making sure all these buildings maintain their appearance, and they saw this beautiful fan window and they're saying, we're not using that fan window. We're going to just side right over it. And we were like, whoa, stop right there.
Right. They were thinking of saving money, and we were saying, gee, that's the historic element of the building.
Yeah.
And there is a good example of the difference between that project and the seminary project. The firm that's looking at the seminary project is accustomed to dealing with historic structures. They understand it. They know the ins and outs of it, and they're prepared to deal with it.
They welcome the challenge.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, it's part of their mission as developers in that particular case.
Right.
When you get just a property owner who's looking to make improvements, they might not have the historic aspects of things at the top of the list.
You think we can reach out and to them and say, help them with the 79E process. Maybe they don't understand the value that they would have. You know, sometimes if your property taxes are lower, you would finance something more likely than otherwise. You know, like you could earn it out, you know, pay it out. I don't know how that was approached with them, or if
Well,
at
I
all.
think they know about it, but I think they had seen the repairs when they purchased the general store. It's so mishmashed and so shoddily done that they just said, hey, we're going to vinyl side and we're going to make it look better. Not thinking about how, okay, well, you need to restore it to how it should look, not just fix what someone else has done to it. So they're aware now.
And like I said, I wouldn't approach him yet. It's not like we don't have anything else to do. But I think we're coming out of a really bad winter over the last 8 months, 9 months, and
Right.
we got another 6 months to go. So I wouldn't put pressure on them to provide something they may not be ready for. Let's
Right.
give it
But
a
if
little
they
time and then
Yeah.
go.
Holly
if
wants to say
approach
something.
on it, I think, oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to, if they approach us, we should say, we can help, you know,
Correct.
we can help you, because it's daunting to think about it.
Right. No, I'm not suggesting that we not help 'em. I think we should help them, but I don't know that we want to push the bear right now because they may not be ready to deal with
Right.
some of these issues.
I agree.
I think they don't want to get in trouble with the town because I think they have an extra apartment in the back. Because where they had the unloading
They've
dock.
always had an extra apartment in the back and we just kind of shake our heads. That's, you know.
Yeah, Glenn lives in the back.
Let's get on. Let's forget about the apartments in the back for now.
See,
Yeah.
that's the
And I think,
our board, we're only concerned with what the outside of the building looks like, so.
Right.
and
We're asking for a code enforcement officer on the warrant this year. If you can say yes, and we can have some help with that.
Yeah.
well, and as two town boards here, I think we have to be careful about how much we try to push any individual project up the rope, if you will.
Yeah.
It's you know, there's a line there, I think, and I'm not sure how much we want to be pushing and being too proactive in
Yeah, I don't
way.
know about that, Glenn, because I think of myself as the reason that we put in 79E is to encourage this behavior so that we have, I could be dead wrong, but in my mind, something like that is part of our Envision Kingston project. We want, as a town, that building to be better. How can we support to do it? I totally agree with Ellie that it's too quick right now, but you know, something that was targeted in our Envision Kingston report that encourage them more, but that's just my opinion.
Plus the garden shop's getting like overrun, like when she had her pumpkin patch, that's outside of the building.
Guys, we're getting far afield here, and I know that the historic district's got a hearing in 8 minutes or 7 minutes. So let's
let the HDC people get up and walk around for a minute, okay?
All right.
You are all welcome to stay and watch our meeting, see how we're gonna put Jerry Carboni on the hot seat, so you can watch that, right, Jerry?
Yeah.
Ernie, do we have
hi,
to
Jerry.
Hi, Jerry.
What's that, Debbie?
Hi, Jerry.
Right.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
so I'm gonna take off for 5 minutes, okay?
All right. We thank you all for this meeting. This has
Thank
been
you.
great. I really appreciate it. I think the Heritage Commission, I am going to sign off at this point. I think, I don't know what anybody else. Debbie?
I'm signing off.
Yeah, I am.
All I'm saying is, I think we have to close our meeting because we opened it.
No, we're gonna just stay right on this.
Oh, we do. Yeah. Okay. We need to
Yeah,
adjourn
Heritage.
the joint HC-HDC
Okay.
meeting then.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
So
it.
we're adjourned at 6:53. Thank you, Debbie.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna get up and stretch for a minute.
Thank you.
Hold on, Jerry. We've been working since 5:30, so
Okay.
we'll get going on the HDC meeting
No
in just a
rush.
few minutes.
No rush.
Okay.
They're not coming tomorrow. They're coming Thursday.
They didn't come today.
Yeah, they were here today.
What did they do?
Oh, they painted some doors and
Hmm.
fixed my closet,
Oh, they did.
fixed my the closet, the coat closet in the other one. Both of those,
Mm,
TV.
mm.
One minute to spare.
I'm back.
Well, that was the fastest 5 minutes.
Yeah, it goes pretty fast.
Yeah. I wolfed down some dinner.
I'm holding out for afterwards because I know you guys are going to make it 2-4 time.
I wolfed down a piece of chicken and made a cup of tea. Said hello to my husband.
So Susan, is he all done now, or is he got a? He is.
He is done.
All right.
His brother retired September 1st.
I saw Perrin back at the later in the year, or maybe it was in the summer, I forget, and he happened to mention that he was selling out his piece, and I said, "What?"
Yeah, he's been wanting to retire, and
Oh.
so Russell's running the shop now, and it's a good thing that he, isn't half the week in Concord. So
Right. Yeah.
20 years. I think he started in 2000, so that was a long service.
Long line. That's nice.
Yeah.
He served us well, and we appreciate his time for us.
Yeah.
He really did a good job.
Now he's at the kitchen table crunching numbers, so that's something he never used to have to do.
I'm not sure he went in from the fire pan into the fire.
Well, we're really fortunate that our 3 oldest children also work over there at the shop. So
Oh, okay. Well, that's great.
yes,
That is great.
so it's really
Okay, I'm back. I'm back.
Did you
All
get
right.
something to eat?
Are we ready to start? Let's
It
start.
looks as though we're still recording too.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to, well, Marissa can take care of that.
Yeah, no problem.
So we got all this lovely banter on the recording.
It's wonderful.
All right.
She knows not to put it in there.
I behaved for a while. Fortunately for me.
Yeah.
Ellie, there's a show. I think it's on Netflix. My sister watched it. She said it was a hysterical show.
I bet I know it's something Creek, right?
No.
No?
The history of swearing. She said it was the history of swearing. She said it was
Really
funny. So I haven't watched it yet.
I had 6 years of Latin in my junior high and high school, and I could conjugate that F word very well. I want you to know.
Marissa, really don't put that in.
No,
I'll be
I
sure I
didn't say the
don't.
word. I didn't say the word.
All right, let's bring this meeting to order at
Okay.
7:02 p.m. This is the Historic District Commission meeting, the town of Kingston, on January 12th, 2021. I will start the meeting by reading the governor's compliance checklist thing. As chair of the Historic District Commission, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the commission have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the phone number or by clicking on the website address provided on the posted meeting agenda. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions have also been provided on the website of the town of Kingston at kingston.newhampshire.org and posted at the post office. If anybody has a problem, please call 603-475-3678. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Susan Prescott, and I am alone in this room.
Virginia Morse, I'm alone, I'm here and I'm alone in the room.
Ellie Alessio, I'm at home and am alone in the room.
Glenn Koppelman, present and alone.
Madeline Willett, present and alone.
Missing are Stanley Gillette and Ralph Murphy. Now, to get started, we will start with critical correspondence, of which I have none. Does anyone else have any?
This is kind of, I guess it's correspondence. How, am I coming through okay or not?
Yes.
I am. Ellen Faulkner does a wonderful job with the planning board, letting us know via a departmental comment sheet if there's a project before the planning board, so we know what's happening. So I picked up the mail, so I got this one. I checked with Glenn, and I do not believe it is one that is a concern of ours. I believe it's a lot line adjustment. Is that correct? The Greenwood Pond LLC on 16 Church Street.
No, well, no, not really, Virginia. It's a property that came, we can talk about it now. I was going to bring it up during the
Oh,
planning
all
board
right.
update, but that's
Yeah.
fine. We can do it now.
Okay.
I believe it's the property, and Ellie, you probably know it. Is it?
Yeah,
is it
I'm in the butter, yes.
Abenaki timber?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
To the best of my knowledge, there are a couple of buildings on that property, and I think for estate planning purposes, maybe, they would like to have the buildings owned by different entities or different people. And the lot is too small to go through a formal subdivision, so I think they're looking to condominiumize it.
Correct.
And according to state law, when you do condominiums, it technically does come under the subdivision process, which is why the planning board will be dealing with it. But there's no technical subdivision in the traditional sense. So what will happen is that they're proposing that the bulk of the land will be common area, and then the two individual buildings with a small footprint that they're on, I think, will be the separately owned pieces. And so they're, to the best of my knowledge, and I do have a copy of the plan, although I haven't looked at it. There are no physical changes taking place. This is all lines on paper and words in documents, and the use of the property isn't changing. No construction is going on, and that's how I understand it.
Okay, thank you.
And that's what I understood too. I believe it's two brothers. They want to be able to share the property so that each portion falls into their own specific estates for future planning for heirs and so forth.
Right.
So they had tried to do something similar before, but didn't quite get it together. They now have a new plan, which they'll be presenting. And that's their purpose, is to be able to split the property so each one owns X amount of property with some common land.
So Virginia, I just to carry this a little bit further, as I was thinking about this, because it's in the historic district, technically they should come to the HDC first before it goes to planning board. And Glenn Greenwood's response to me was he thought that they already did come to HDC when this happened a couple of years ago or a year ago when they were working toward this, but I don't recall that they did. And so the question, maybe the question before us as a as the HDC is whether or not we feel this needs to come to us or not.
Well, when I see that there's no visual structural changes, it's more of a legal matter, and as you said, lines on maps and documents. I wouldn't.
Virginia,
I
we
don't have
lost-
anything to say about it in regards to HDC. Whether they should have asked us or not, I don't know.
Well, technically they should have, but
Yes.
because there are no physical changes, I'm not sure that it's really necessary.
Relevant. Right, I agree. I agree.
But I do like to, Susan, I don't think you've seen one of these, but I didn't think it was a big deal here, so you were pretty busy. I do like to make a comment, even if the comment is no comment. I want her to know that we looked at it
Oh, yeah.
and at least acknowledged that we had been included. And so maybe I could make a note saying that this should come before the board, even though there was no physical change. Then I'm running out of words here.
Well, you could explain that any project that comes before planning board in the historic district needs to come to the Historic District Commission first.
Yep. Okay.
But in this particular case, because there are no physical changes to the property, the Historic District Commission doesn't feel it necessary to do a formal review with them or something to that effect.
All right.
If the commission is so inclined to do that.
That's fine with me.
Okay.
Good with
That's
that.
what I'll do.
Actually, I'm going to go ahead and make that a motion because it is kind of it's a decision we're making, and I think it's worth capturing it in a motion just so that there's no question about it.
Good.
So
Okay.
so with
Okay.
regard to the Greenwood Pond LLC application coming before the planning board, I'll make a motion that because there are no physical changes to the property and no change of use happening on the property, that HDC will waive its usual right to review this in advance of planning board.
Second,
Second by Madeline Willett. Susan Prescott, aye.
Virginia Morris, I am scribbling quickly.
Ellie Alessio, I.
Glenn Koppelman, aye.
Madeline Willett, aye.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
So that was critical correspondence.
Okay.
Let's move on to the minutes of December 16th. Are there any corrections or changes,
I move-
additions?
I move to adopt as printed.
That's
as
Ellie
emailed.
Alessio.
Yeah.
Second,
Second. Oh, Maddie, do you get it?
Yeah.
I beat you.
Okay.
Second by Madeline Willett. All in favor? Susan Prescott, aye.
I'm sorry, I know I'm slow because it's slow coming to me.
Just say
It's just-
yes, Virginia.
There's just one tiny spelling error. She and Mark found the told shutters should be old shutters. Just a spelling error.
Okay,
So,
sorry
yes.
about that.
Okay.
So we do. Yes.
Ellie Alessio, yes. That's
Glenn
correct.
Koppelman, yes.
Madeline Willett, yes.
Okay, the minutes pass. Thank you. Town board updates. Planning board?
We've already discussed the one item that I had for planning board.
Okay, excellent, thank you. And CIP?
Yeah, I wish I had something to report on CIP, but I have not been able to circle back with Glenn Greenwood, who's putting the final spreadsheet and the final document together. So I believe we're very, very close, and I was hoping that by this meeting we would be there, and we're not quite. So hopefully by our next meeting, we will be.
Excellent. The Selectmen's Board.
Yeah, the board is going to put requesting to hire a code enforcement officer. We are in dire need, and not just because of any major projects coming down the road, but even current individual developments, whether it be a housing development or a street. There are so many issues going on. We don't have the capability, we don't have the manpower to monitor progress on making sure culverts are correct or that the road is graded correct. I mean, it's haphazard. So the board has been debating whether full-time, part-time. We all want one full-time, but we want to get it passed. So you'll see it go through a couple more changes, but you will see it on the warrant. It's not a long warrant this year, but that's probably one of the most critical pieces on there this spring. So I hope you'll endorse it. When I tell you, we most of the headaches for the Board of Selectmen is enforcement of our regulations.
I can see that, yeah.
Seriously, it's bigger
Well,
problem than I thought.
And it has been for a long time, Ellie, so I'm
That's
really
correct.
glad. I'm
Yes.
really glad to see that that something's being addressed on that.
Yeah, well, the next will be a town manager or town administrator. Yeah,
Yeah.
but the code enforcement is even more critical right now. You know, it's long, even though I've been in town for forever, it seems like, I don't think I understood some of the logistical problems that the Board of Selectmen face, because they don't have the management structure that, for example, that the school has. And so we're relying on volunteers to do some critical decisions on how things are built, and some of us are not qualified to do that. And I'm one of them. And I couldn't sit there and monitor someone because I don't know what the hell I'm looking at.
Right.
Pardon my French, but it's not just that. These developers don't think we have any clout, and they're right. So we can say, no, we'll give you a cease and desist. And they said, to heck with you. We're going to do what we want to. We have a house in the middle of Kingston Lake. It juts right out. Why? Because they did what they wanted, and we couldn't stop them because we didn't have a code enforcement officer. That's just one example. We've got four headaches on the boards right now.
Wow.
That we know of.
Yeah.
That we know of. So hopefully the town will support us in this endeavor.
Ellie,
Yes.
while you're speaking about the warrant and so forth and town meeting,
Yeah.
Has a decision been made about how we're going to be doing our deliberative session in our town meeting?
Interesting. Ellen was at a 6-hour webinar on Saturday and what to determine what is allowed by the state. And the problem is we can do both. We can Zoom. But we have to be there to vote. If you have a warrant article and you want to make an amendment, we cannot make amendments and take votes by Zoom. You must be physically present in order to vote. And the rationale from the state is that we cannot verify that you are a legally registered voter in town.
Yep.
So while you can participate in the discussion via Zoom, you can add your comments, but you will not be able to vote. So we're going to have both and be on site, and it will be at the school auditorium and offer Zoom. So that's how it's going to go. And it will be on the 30th of January.
Okay.
That's the deliberative session.
That's the deliberative session. Voting will be pretty much like it was in November at the gym.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Excellent. Heritage Commission, I don't think we need an update, do we? Because we just had a meeting with them.
I think we did pretty well on that one.
We're all set with them. Zoning Board of Adjustments.
Yeah, we don't have anything new right now.
Okay.
All's quiet for a couple months.
Excellent.
I know.
Let's move right along to Jerry Carbone. We have another person, Karen Olson. Hello.
Now she's muted. Hello, Karen.
Hi. Welcome.
Thank you.
Are you a member of the public?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Okay. we are going to move on to Gerald Carbone's application. We're continuing from last month's meeting, the discussion about the new construction at 129 Main Street. So now, I dropped off a packet to each of your homes yesterday, and I forwarded an email late this afternoon with the plot plan with the driveway drawn in for what it would look like going onto Scotland Road.
Yep.
Did you all receive that?
Yes.
I feel like my the town email doesn't work that well, so I did send that out through my Comcast email.
I think you should use the Comcast. We're going to revitalize and get maybe a 20th century internet system at the town hall, but that will be up for discussion in the next meeting of the selectmen. But I would go with Comcast right now because we have had consistent failures of communications through the town website.
Okay.
Town email, excuse me.
Yes. Okay. So did everyone receive the information that I sent this afternoon and dropped off at your homes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Susan.
You're welcome. So we have Jerry here. I'm going to shift my stuff around here so I know what we're doing. He also dropped off for the town at the town hall some sample siding samples to me, and I will hold them up to you because there were, and also roofing samples. So one moment, I have something in my printer tray that I need to get. Jerry, you can start if you want.
Well, I can wait till Susan gets back.
I'm right here, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, the plan I presented is a modified version of the one we presented last month. And this is the one I'd like to build, exactly the way you see it. I'm not sure about the color. I think the color is a little bit light, but there are some other samples on the vinyl siding that I gave to Susan that a little bit darker. So
I
One
actually
is
like it.
hang on.
gray, little dark.
This one's a little greenish gray, and this one's more of a gray.
Yeah, I think a little darker than what's shown on the print that I've shown in the house.
Right,
Good.
still with the white trim.
Yes, white trim and the oyster gray roofing. I'll give you a sample of that. Not to tell looking at it like that, but I think that would work out well with a little darker gray siding. But any one of those siding colors, as far as I'm concerned, will work.
This one, I think that's the same color that I have on my house, actually. It's black
That's
and
the
gray.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one. Exactly.
Could I please ask for someone to show the site plan?
Karen, is that you speaking?
Yeah, please. I'm sorry. I should have identified myself.
I don't have that electronically. How can I get that up here? Does anyone have the capability of sharing that on their screen?
I can copy the plan, but
I can hold it up. I mean, I can hold it up, but you'd have to look at it that way. You can.
Here it is on my phone. I don't even think.
Oh, all right.
There we go. Can you see that?
And actually, I know she's looking for this.
what you want to look at, yeah.
Karen, are you asking for the sort of the layout of the lot?
You know,
Yeah, where the house is going to be positioned on the lot. That's
Okay.
Pretty much where that
Good.
box is.
All right.
this must be the old one
Susan,
because this is showing.
Susan, I'm gonna try to find it and share my screen. If I can, I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Thank you so much.
Keep talking, and I'll see if I can do that.
Yeah. I think I had the wrong one because mine was still showing the driveway off Main Street, and I think it's coming off Scotland now.
Yes.
The one that I emailed you today does have that. It's the same plot plan, but he drew in where the driveway is going to be.
Okay.
Are you able to see what we're doing?
Yes.
You just send her an email of the whole thing. She can just look at it on the computer.
Right. Do you want to give me your email address over the airwaves here, or would you rather not do that?
No,
Well,
I can
maybe-
do that, Susan.
Oh, she can
Maybe,
put it on the
maybe
chat
Glenn's
function
gonna
as well.
post it.
You can put it on the chat function as well.
Yeah, if, hang on, I think I'm close here.
Then Karen, then you can, well, I guess if he shares the screen, it will be full screen.
Right,
Yeah.
it will be.
Yeah, I just sent you my email address as well.
Okay.
Let's see, share screen.
Thank you, Glenn.
I think we're almost there.
Oh, I think you're doing well.
Yeah.
All right.
Perfect.
So this doesn't show the, well, hang on, let me. Okay,
Oh,
so
there you
at the top of the sheet, if you can see my cursor,
Yeah.
Mhm.
that's Main Street.
Yep.
And Scotland Road.
Yeah.
And then this is the 1686 house over here.
Yep.
And this rectangle right here is the proposed new house. Originally with the driveway to be off of Main Street, but the revision is that the driveway would come off of Scotland Road, like right about here. And then in the back of the house, this is the septic system. And then this over here is the house next door, which I forget who the owner is, but
Walker.
so does that,
Yes, thank you so much. That's exactly what I wanted. Thank you so much.
oh, okay. You want me to leave it up, Susan, or not?
I don't need it up. Does anyone else need it up?
No. I don't.
I'll say one thing while it's up there.
Okay.
One of the things we discussed was the viewscape down Main Street. And so I looked at a number of the houses on Main Street for setbacks from the road. And this fits in very nicely. The house next door is set back about 70 feet. This is set back about 84 feet. So it's set back a little bit further, but it isn't that it's snugged up to Main Street very far or set way back from Main Street. It kind of fits in with the pattern of houses along Main Street.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. All right, I'm going to stop sharing the screen now. And if you need it back up at some point, just let me know.
Okay. Thank you. So we had talked with Jerry last month about the windows across the front. So he had those changed, as he said that he would. Jerry, you changed the size of the windows on the bedrooms.
Yes, we did.
Did all the stuff that we asked you to do as far as the house design.
Yeah, everything was implemented. We talked about.
Your window design looks good on the plans as well.
Yeah, it does look good. I think.
Yeah.
Beautiful looking house.
No, I think it'll be a nice.
It'll look nice on Main Street. It'll look very nice.
Still on that empty lot.
I like the light blue, by the way, because it's not
actually-
quite white, but it's not quite dark.
It's actually a gray, but it's supposed to be gray, but it looks bluish there.
In the photo it does, yeah, but it looks wicked nice.
He's going to, Jerry did say that he's going to do a little bit of a darker color gray, not that light gray.
That's my personal opinion. The realtor I'm dealing with, she likes a dark gray, which is in vogue now, but I don't think it would go along with what's there now.
On
So
the Main Street, yeah.
yeah, this will be more in line with what's there now, the white, off-white, light grays and things like that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you don't want the only like almost black house on Main
No, I
Street.
don't. No, she's looking at what's popular now, but may not be popular in this particular area.
Exactly.
But up off 107, they're doing these darker colors, which in that area, there's nothing to compare it with.
Well,
Right.
there's a bit of a difference between what might happen in a historic district and what might happen in a new development, so.
Right.
Correct, correct.
Not that we don't like dark colors. I mean, we did do that. The house on Chase Road that did that nice saturated brick red. That's a beautiful color too, and that's not light at all. So
Yep.
But that checks off the boxes as far as the house. Does anyone have any questions for Jerry as far as the discussion we had on the house design?
I don't have anything on the house design. I think that where we've ended up with it is really pretty good. I've got to tell you, the only suggestion I would, and I have two other things, but while you're on the issue of the house, if you turn to page 2 of the plan set that Jerry provided, it shows the back elevation of the house. And there's and again, this is going to be very visible driving into the historic district from Scotland Road. And it's very, very plain, which is fine. But I was wondering about the possibility of some windows in the garage at that lower level so that there isn't that huge blank wall space. It would just break it up, and
Yeah, we can do that.
I think it would look more like the front of the house
Yeah,
if it were like that.
It's a big blank area.
So that's
Yes.
just a comment. And then while I've got the mic here, Susan, I've just two other things. When we get to the point of making a motion to approve or whatever on this, assuming it's an approval at some point, that the plan set that we had up on the screen is something that the building inspector is going to be looking at. And I think that the plan needs to be modified to remove the old driveway location and put in the correct one off of Scotland Road, because if there are two driveways on there, the building inspector is going to say, oh, I guess they've got two driveways. Well, no,
Yeah.
So I think that's a modification that needs to be made. And if I looked at the house plan and I look at the dimensions of the house on the plan, I don't think they're the same. And so again, if the building inspector is going to be looking at this and saying, okay, the Historic District Commission approved this house, it doesn't fit the plan because it's the wrong dimensions on the plan. So we just need to be consistent.
That's correct. I think they're correct.
So I think
62 feet wide by 30 feet deep on the Scotland Road side. That's the porch out.
Jerry, I'm sorry, I missed what you were saying.
I think the dimensions are correct. It's
65 feet wide, 35 feet deep.
No, 62 feet total width across Main Street.
62 feet.
62.
The
Yeah.
plan you gave me today says 65 feet.
Right, so that's 3 feet difference on the length.
Okay.
Today.
And then the main house part on the plans is 26 feet deep. Now that doesn't include the portico or the deck, but it is the main part of the house, and that's 26 feet wide. And I'm pretty sure that the septic plan that shows where the house is going to go has a different dimension for the depth.
35
There
feet.
was no dimension when we drew that box in there. Dennis put that box in there just approximately where the house would go. That's not. the
Okay.
dimension.
Well, I'm sorry, Jerry, he put a dimension on it.
That's just the box.
No, there's a dimension on it, and I guess all I'm saying is we need to make sure that, when we get to the point of approving it, we need to know what we're approving and that the plan is consistent with that approval.
Which dimension are you
The
talking about?
depth, the house is 29 feet, and I'm pretty sure the plan shows 35.
Right. So I think what we would be more concerned with is, if we took the 65-foot width of the box and put a 62-foot wide, so it's bring it in 1.5 feet on either side, so it's centered in the box along Main Street, and then shorten up so don't move the house. Don't move the house farther back. Leave the front of the house where it is in that box.
No. I'll
And
tell you
then-
what happened. I met with the highway department yesterday.
Yeah,
That telephone pole is kind of in the way. And to
okay,
move it would be a fortune. I'm not gonna move it. And if we move the house back like 5 feet from where it is, that box is not the house.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
gonna be made clear that that is not the house dimension. That's just a box, a reference box where the house would go approximately. That could be moved. We're gonna
Okay.
move that box back a few feet,
okay.
but the house is 62 by 30. In the plans I
by
did
30.
yesterday,
If you look on page 2 of the handout you dropped off, that's where it is.
Okay,
it's 62 by 30.
okay, and you say you're gonna move, so the box, if we were assuming that that box, the front of that is the front of the house, you're gonna move that back 5 feet, is that what you're saying?
Roughly 5 or 6 feet, just to clear that pole. That's
Okay.
all.
How does that work, Virginia, with the setback?
It's fine. It's within 20 feet on each side.
Well, it sets it back even further than the abutting house. I didn't go all the way down Main Street to see how much front lawn each house has. I only did the house next to it.
No, that'll look good, but we have to clear that pole. And they don't want the house, I was gonna move the house closer to Main Street. That puts the driveway closer to the intersection, which is an unsafe situation.
Okay, yeah.
So
that
they
makes sense.
agreed to move the house back a few feet. Actually, we could make it work the way it is. But that box is just not the dimensions of the house. That's just a box
Okay,
where the house would go.
okay, that makes sense.
Right, but do you understand, Jerry, and the rest of the commission, what I'm saying is that whatever we approve has to be reflected on the plan, because that's
yeah.
what the building inspector is gonna look at.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So that
Yes.
includes the dimensions of the house, the placement of the house, the placement of the driveway, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Okay,
I think it would be nice to at least hold up the picture of the house for Karen to see. The front view and the back view, so she has an idea of what we're talking about. So there's the front.
Somebody else want to hold up the back at the same time so she can see them both?
All right, there's the front and I'll hold up the back. And I drew in the 2 windows that Glenn suggested, and I'm all for those extra windows in the garage.
Yeah, that'll look
It
good.
gives some more character to the back of the house,
Yeah.
Great.
okay?
So now that we've talked about the back of the house a little bit, we've added windows. I was going to suggest adding a faux corner board to make it the back, that big expanse. We've added windows to help break up that expanse. But if this was built in the historic district, it would have been an addition. So you would most likely have had a corner board that would have extended past the beginning of the colonial to the addition. And also there's a faux roof for the dormer. So I kind of penciled in, and I'm going to hold that right up. If you can see, right next to the bulkhead, I drew in a line of a faux fascia board.
Yeah.
It breaks up the expanse so it looks like now it's a colonial with an addition.
Yeah.
And I also continued the dormer roof, even though it's just a small expanse across that dormer. It breaks up and it makes it look like a true dormer.
Yeah. Yeah, we can do that. It looks good.
Because that's the way it looks on the front, right? The dormer goes all the way across.
Exactly.
Right.
Especially because if you were just in between a bunch of houses, I would say whatever, but you're right on Scotland, right on the edge where everyone's going to see the house coming up the road.
So Jerry, you understand what
Yeah.
Madeline is saying?
I drew it in. It looks good. To
I
break it
think
up.
that's a good change, and it's probably not going to be hardly any money at all to do.
No,
Right.
no, that'll be fine.
Excellent, Madeline. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that. It
Yeah.
breaks up the
break it
starkness
up.
of that long expanse.
Right.
And you're right, it makes it look more like a An original colonial with an addition.
with an addition, right?
Yeah. God, you're good at this.
Now, when we changed the driveway to face Scotland Road, it looks like the peak should have fascia boards going to from the returns, and I actually was going to suggest having the returns on, let's see if I can point to this. So there should be a fascia board right here to the peak on all the peaks here. This one I think had one already, but this one didn't. This one was left off, and the returns should be true returns.
More of a return?
So the returns, yeah, they should all be
Yeah.
full returns. We just had a new construction on Main Street, gosh, 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and we had them add those to them.
Yeah, that's minor. We can do that.
I know these are just minor things.
Yeah.
Did I see anything
But
else?
that's what we pay attention to, the minor things that make
Yeah.
the difference.
Yeah.
Because we're really close here, but I like those additions, Maddie.
The other question I have is the windows in the front of the house have an extra board across the top. And I don't know if it makes sense to continue that on the side windows at least. This one's definitely facing Main Street, so I'm going to leave it up to the board to match the front window trim, or if you want to leave it small. I put a little bit of a cap on top of the window to match the front here, but I'm going to leave it up to you guys to decide what you think is better.
I have too many papers here. Hang on.
Maddie, you're talking about the window above the garage doors?
Yes. Well, actually, it's up to the board whether you think that the windows on the side that will face the house next door and face the road, should they have the same trim as the front of the house? Or you can go like the back of the house where it makes it more simple. If you look at, let's see, I think it's page 5.
To my eye, I'm not seeing the difference, but then again,
Yeah, I'm like seeing, if you look here, see how there's a wider board on top of the windows
Yes.
on the front view. But if I go to the back view,
It's less formal.
it's much less formal. It's just it's a small,
okay.
get that. Yeah, see, it's just picture framed.
What would be historically correct? Would a 200-year-old house have the same treatment all around the whole house, or?
So I know mine does. Mine has so many mismatched windows. They're all different, but they're all wider trim. So that's why I was leaving it up to the board's discretion.
Everything on the front of my house is more, I'll say intricate, more detail. And on the back of the house is simple, simple, simple.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yep. And on the side, did they do it differently on the side? Do you know?
I'll run out and look, Maddie.
No,
I can't
that's
remember.
Isn't it usually whatever you can see from Main Street is what you should visually have similar?
So then you're saying that you'd prefer to see the front of the house then?
Well, I think more accurately, it's what is visible from the historic district. And
Right.
typically if we only have a house with front or a structure with frontage on Main Street, that's the angle. But in this case, you have it fronting on two roads within the historic district.
Yes. But Jerry, I think that's the simple addition. It's one more piece of molding, essentially.
Right, but would it look more, would it look almost too fancy with the extra molding on the back and the sides? You know?
Matter of opinion, I think. I don't
Well,
know.
no, I'm just trying to say what would be more historically accurate. I mean, we're sort of trying to fit this brand new construction into the surrounding properties that are historic.
Yep.
So if you put a house, a brand new house with a whole ton of trim, and then you realize that, you know, all the houses around it only have the fancy trim on the front and not really on the sides, then your brand new fancy house is going to stick out too.
Right.
Do you see my point?
Like
Yes.
even the driveway doors have that wider board over them.
Which ones, Madeline?
The garage doors, if you look at the top of those, that's a wider board on the top than on the sides.
Yep.
So Jerry, do you think it would be, what's your thought on making, I mean, I guess you'd have to decide whether you're going to leave it as is.
I like the return idea.
What?
The return idea.
The
That would make it
return
look
idea?
yeah, I think that's good.
The extra fascias?
Yeah.
I'm on the fence about this one because I feel like if you put a huge ton of trim on, like the back, it might not be historically appropriate.
Well, that's up to you guys. It doesn't matter.
What does the rest of the board think? What are your thoughts?
I was ready to go with the front trim just on the sides, but leave the back as is.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
another compromise, but
I'd be more comfortable with that than putting the fancy trim on all four sides of the house.
yeah,
I would agree with that as well.
yeah.
Yep, same.
So Jerry, can we agree that the two ends, the end above the garage doors, that window will have the extra bit of trim to
Yeah.
match the front windows?
Yeah, sure.
And the windows on the far end, that faces, I don't know,
Yeah, the
town
one.
hall, maybe you could say.
Yeah.
The two sides. So I'm gonna write in add trim to match front windows. And then leave the back the way it is, sort of more plain.
Okay.
Right. I think that's more historically accurate.
And
Okay.
add the two garage windows and the facing.
In the back, yep.
And those should be
Oh,
centered underneath the upper windows because
Yeah.
symmetry is very important in
Oh, yeah.
colonial America.
Yeah.
Add trim to match front windows.
That'll give more light into the garage too. That'll probably be a nice feature for that
Yeah,
house.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm making notes here.
So then if we go through what the house looks like, it's the very front page said that some items shown are optional and or may vary. So I just wanted to go through, from what I can see, there's going to be wide corner boards on the house with vinyl siding.
Yep.
The peak should have the wide fascia boards as well, which we talked about. There should be returns on the peak corners.
Yeah.
The front door, it looks like it has divided side lights.
Yes.
And that the front door will have glass in the upper portion. It looks like it's 3 panes of glass.
Yeah.
5.
Yeah. I think we want side lights and top lights.
Oh, there's going to be top lights across the entryway?
It showed it on the other drawing. I don't know if it shows it here or not. I can't tell.
I don't see a transom window.
Yeah.
On this.
No,
on
it
this
looks
sketch.
like, it doesn't look like a transom window. It looks like a wide board,
Yeah.
a wide board.
Yeah. And we were gonna.
You could do a transom window because that's historically correct. I think Virginia's, your house has a transom across the front, right?
Yes, it does.
We can do either way. It doesn't matter to me.
Well, you pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Side light is fine with me. And then,
I don't think you need side lights and a transom.
okay, yeah,
I would say one or the other.
well, we can do lights on both sides and the top.
Okay. So you'll do side
Yep.
lights.
So just as pictured. And then your front door does have lights in the top of the door.
Okay.
Yeah, so you wouldn't need a transom if you have it.
Right, and that was probably the reason that there's no transom light is that there are lights in the door itself.
Right.
Yes, yes.
If you look at page, whatever it's called front elevation, it's,
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe page 6.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Then we had that windows will be 6/6, and that's shown.
Mm.
They will have the wide trim as pictured on the, we just talked about for the sides and the front.
Yeah.
The garage door also has wide trim at the top and divided lights and appears as carriage doors with hinges and handles.
Mm.
And that's on page 7, I believe, if you look at the peak version.
Yeah.
Lighting.
Yeah.
It looks like there's lighting on the front door, 2 sconces, but we can't see what type they are. Did you happen to have a picture of the lights that you were going to use?
No, I didn't get that far yet, as far as the exact lighting. But,
And I'm assuming on the back, you're going to want probably 2 sconces next to the slider and a sconce next to the back door for the garage,
yeah,
but there's no lighting listed.
the light between the 2 garage doors.
And I was going to
Another.
state that I am not a fan of the light between the garage doors.
Me either.
Yeah, I think those are,
I know, put them on the end, we put them on the end.
those are like backyard blasters. I think either the sconces that you use in the front on either side of the garage would be appropriate, or some
I'll do 3
gooseneck
sconces.
lights that hang over the garages,
I'll do 3 sconces, that's all.
or 3 sconces. So
Yep.
definitely not fans of the backyard blaster lights.
So Jerry hasn't picked out his light fixtures yet. Okay.
No, that's up to probably my realtor or somebody else, but I don't get into details like that sometimes.
We will probably want to see those before.
Yeah, I can show you samples of what we're gonna get,
Yep.
and,
Yeah, we do need to see pictures of that.
and the front door, it's gonna be painted something, like a colonial type. It'll stand out from the rest of the house.
Yeah.
We talked about the foundation, how much of the foundation would show.
Very little,
This is just a rendering, but
very little. It's gonna be graded up right to the foundation.
so like 12 to 16 inches.
Yeah, let's say about that. Yeah. It'll grade from the, so you won't see any foundation. It'll grade just above the, just below the foundation, top of the foundation. And you probably won't see any, especially with shrubs. It'll screen it anyway.
So something similar to what's pictured on the plan for the shrubbery.
Yeah,
Okay. You've got square columns on the front portico.
are they square?
Yep.
Yep.
We like those. Those are nice.
Very nice.
All right. Yeah.
What material are you planning on using for the stairs that
PVC,
lead to the front door?
fiber
It looks
line.
like they're wooden.
I think it's plastic.
I don't think there's gonna be, I don't think there's gonna be any wood on this, Madeline.
No, I meant, yeah, so like a Trex product.
Trex, Fiberon,
Okay,
with a composite vertical whiteboard.
okay,
All
So it
Trex.
will look like painted wood though.
right.
Yeah.
They'll look like wooden steps.
Yeah.
Okay.
So are you gonna put any gutters on this?
No gutters.
No gutters. Okay, good to know.
No shutters, just the way you see it.
Right.
There's no shutters.
Mm.
Let me see. It looks
So the
like
only
there's
lighting, sorry, Madeline, the only lighting on the front of the house is the two sconces at the front door?
As far as it goes right now, yes. We didn't show a walkway which will go across the garage to the garage itself. There'll be probably a hot top walkway from the front door to the garage area. That's not shown, but that would be probably just black hot top.
Okay.
There's no garage door on Main Street, so there's no reason to have a walkway coming toward Main Street. Yeah.
I think that was the questions I had on the actual details of the house. And then the other questions I had were about the septic system, if we were going to be, how we were going to camouflage the candy cane feature for
No.
venting.
I'll put a bush there.
A bush.
Or two. Yeah.
You'll have to build a wishing well.
Yeah, a lot of people do, huh?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's going, the candy cane is going to be towards the back of the leach field though, isn't it? It's not going to be.
It is.
Yeah, that's what I could tell from the plan that you sent over,
Yes.
that the candy cane's going to be further back.
So there are a number of ways to camouflage that, depending on how tall it is. And so if it's going to be really tall, some kind of a bush that grows tall and slender would be fine. But there are also faux rocks.
Right there. See
There
the-
are all, yeah, there are other designs. I have happen to have a bunch of those. Actually, that All American needs to do. So there are lots of choices. Some people don't like to put a growing plant there because of roots.
Yeah.
But you can look into camouflaging those. And since that's going to be in the view, I know it's away from Scotland Road, but
This-
they
right-
still
right-
are ugly.
Right where the cursor is, Virginia,
Yes.
is where the PVC vent is planned to be, which is right on the Scotland Road side.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
How's it?
See, it says PVC, 4-inch PVC vent,
Yeah.
and there's the candy cane, and it's right there.
And how tall will that be?
Doesn't say.
I can find out tomorrow.
it's- It's gonna be very visible from Scotland Road because it's not very far.
Yes. I thought it was going to be on the other side where it says D box, but it is not, right?
Correct. The D box is where the effluent comes from the septic tank to the
Okay.
leach field and then gets distributed out through the pipes.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
the vent is at the opposite end.
Yes. So that needs to be camouflaged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have faux granite posts you can put over them, bird houses, bird baths, rocks. There's so many options.
Yeah, it depends. It depends on how tall it is, Maddie. It might be a really tall bird bath.
Yeah, right. For Big Bird.
So Jerry, you said that there was going to be a pathway from the front door along the front of the house, along the front of the garage, I mean, to the driveway?
Correct.
Okay. And did you say what material that was?
Probably black hot top.
Black hot top.
Mm.
Can you upgrade it to something a little more elegant?
Yeah.
You'll get your money's worth out of it, I guarantee.
Yep.
Like some pavers or something would be nice.
Yeah, that's easy enough. Yeah.
And that's not too much more money, right?
Nah. Yeah.
Kind of raises the bar just a little bit, which is nice.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to be doing that, Jerry, and that's a fairly, at night, that's going to be a fairly long path from the front door around. I don't know if you had given thought to maybe some kind of a post lantern somewhere along that walkway.
Yeah, we can do that. Wherever you want it, I can put it in.
Well, I'm really not telling you to do it. I'm just because this plan didn't show a walkway and now you're suggesting it. The only lighting that's there are the two sconces on the side of the front doors.
Yeah, I think you need a walkway from the front door to the garage for people
Right.
to come in for, company.
Yep.
The other alternative from a lantern would be low lighting, around your feet. So
Oh,
along-
right.
you can-
LED plugged in. Or-
or even solar,
Oh, would be nice.
solar,
Yeah. Either way.
just to light your
Whatever gets decided on that, we need to see that so that it becomes part of whatever approval
Sure.
is given.
Yeah. So we need to see what the lighting plan is all around, really. We
Right,
need to
yeah.
see, we need to see the fixtures, the locations.
Dark sky compliant.
Is that a town thing or is that just what we try to do?
Town.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yes.
Did someone say there's going to be a new lighting ordinance? Glenn?
No, not
I
that I,
thought someone just mentioned it in the Heritage Commission meeting.
I think Holly said there was something about lighting on a warrant.
Well,
There
it
are
might-
there are no warrants in those things this year.
Okay.
No planning board warrants.
Okay.
right. The only thing would be if it was a citizen's petition, but that would had to have come before planning board and it didn't. So,
Okay.
Huh.
And they had to be in today. Today's the deadline, actually. But I think there's just 13 warrant articles.
well, citizens petitions for zoning though were back in December.
Okay. All right.
Their
So
deadlines.
non-zoning is today then.
The what?
Non-zoning deadline is today.
Right. Yep.
I think the only other question I had about the oil tank location and a gas tank location on the plan.
No oil,
No oil, that's
No.
good.
in-ground propane.
And where will that be placed? Will that be
Sounds like-
buried?
We talked to the fuel company and he said, when you get the foundation in and get along, we can probably place it someplace on the back of the house someplace.
All right, so we're going to want that to be screened.
It'll be buried.
Oh,
It's
it's
buried.
underground.
So it'll just be a little fill thing,
Yeah.
Perfect.
buried tank.
About 8 inches above the ground.
And that will be right up against the foundation, like if you had an oil tank in the basement. Is that the same?
Well,
No, there are
Mhm.
different separation numbers for
Yeah.
propane.
yeah,
It can't be right, I don't think it can be right beside. It has to be some distance away.
Now,
Okay.
like my house in Kingston, the in-ground tank is quite a bit of ways away from the foundation.
Okay,
Yeah, that's all regulated, I think, by
All regulated.
NFPA codes.
okay.
We're gonna go overhead power. Underground is gonna be, I had the electric company over there. It's gonna be too much of a problem.
Okay.
Overhead might not look as good, but it's easier and it's simple. And
Would it be coming in off that pole that you were just talking about, Jerry, the one on Scotland Road?
they think it will, off Scotland Road.
Yeah.
And they may have to put a transformer, they're not sure yet, which might result in a little more support.
Yep.
The pole itself, depending on the transformer, but that's yet to be determined.
Yep.
Jerry met with the road agent yesterday, and he is approved for the driveway opening on Scotland Road. So that's done.
Yeah, they approved that. And going back to the telephone pole on Main Street, there's a huge tree in the middle, right in the way. So chances are the power will come off the pole on Scotland Road.
Okay.
There's a big tree that must be 200 years old. It's still there, so we're gonna leave that.
You're gonna leave that. Nice.
Leave it. We trimmed it down a month or so ago.
Okay.
A lot of hanging branches. We trimmed that down pretty good. So we're gonna keep that.
So besides I was just gonna say the same thing. Jerry, I need to see the lighting plan, type of fixtures and location of fixtures. And then we'll make notes all over this as far as the returns and the trim.
Yeah.
Virginia, did you write that down? I'm gonna have to make sure that I got all of this, because I was writing notes all over this too.
So I've written a bunch, and I'm not sure if I got them all. Maddie had a really good list.
Yeah.
Maybe we could send to you the different ideas we had. Yeah. I know that from the minutes from last month, that was a really good list.
Yes.
And then I
emailed that.
I'll bet. Yeah, I think Marissa's probably captured. I think Marissa's probably captured a lot of that. But if we could send that to you, then we'd get a complete list and send it on to Jerry.
Okay. Does that sound good to you, Jerry?
It does, but these plans, if I order them tomorrow, they're about 8 weeks out. It's called a Tier 2 by Artform House Plans.
Yeah.
And they have to, not a matter of just taking a print off a computer and printing out a set of drawings. They have to make sure that this house, the way we want it, is compliant with all the codes. So it takes a while.
Okay.
And, I'd like to get a conditional approval based on what we talked about tonight being done, so I can get the plans at least ordered. That's something we can you can consider.
I would not have a problem with that. Are you going to try to get the changes like to the trim and stuff to the?
Oh yeah, I can get that done. Yeah, that won't take long. Yeah, but I'd like to get the plans ordered, and because I say it's not a matter of punching a button, print them out. They're 8 weeks out. Every house they do is going to be code compliant, and the codes change all the time.
Right.
Because other than the trim, it's really, we need to see samples of the lighting in the walkway. It's exterior stuff. It has nothing to do with the house, other than the trim, which we all agree to. So
And the windows, the two
And the-
windows.
and the back,
Three-
right?
three
Windows in the back by the garage. Yep.
Yeah. So that is true.
Yeah.
Well, keep in mind, Susan, that if you choose to entertain a motion on a conditional approval, we would be doing so without seeing some of those final items.
Yep.
And we would not have a chance to then to look at them.
The final items, meaning the trim boards.
Well, that and the lighting fixtures and things like that.
Right.
Well, the plans have nothing to do with the lighting fixtures, if that's my understanding.
That's
So if
true.
we see samples of the lighting fixtures and a sample of what the walkway is going to be like, that's basically other than the trim. So I don't think we should hold up Mr. Carboni anymore. I think we're happy with the house, other than a couple of tweaks. That's my opinion anyway. So you guys can. decide what you want.
He could come back next month with the lighting fixtures and we could continue and approve that
Yeah.
next
Yeah,
month,
but-
but he could be going full steam with the house.
Correct. And
Correct.
get the drawings done, right?
Yeah, I'd like to get the foundation in as soon as we can after I get a building permit. But as far as the lighting fixtures, you know, I'm not fussing on certain fixtures, believe me. As far as the driveway to the front door, patio box or pavers, yeah, that can be done without any problem. I've got no set ideas on that.
So I would entertain a motion on a condition, an approval conditional on Mr. Carboni coming back with his lighting plan, samples of his fixtures, and also a more detailed plan on what the walkway to the front is going to look like, whether there's going to be additional lighting along that walkway at some point. But yes,
I was going to ask a question about if we were to give the conditional approval, I have a mock-up of what changes to trim that we would have on file. But Glenn, what happens for the building inspector? Would he see that?
yeah, we could make sure that he sees
Well,
that.
Does he care
Not
about
gonna-
trim? Does
What?
building inspector care about trim?
Yes, he does.
He
Yep.
does.
Yep.
Why?
Because you are getting an approval for a design and
Oh, he
you,
wants to make sure I conform to the
yep,
conditions. Okay, yeah.
that you're actually building what you got approved for.
Yeah.
So that's his job, one of them. So,
So Maddie, yes, the building inspector could be provided with all that material and should be, whatever the commission ends up doing as an approval, anything that goes with that approval, then the building inspector should get all that stuff.
yes, we'll make sure he does.
The other piece that I brought up earlier is the fact that the plan, that shows the house and the driveway and so forth and the septic system, changes need to be made to that.
Yeah.
The size of the house, we're now talking about a different location. It's setting back further. The original driveway has to be taken off. The new driveway has to be put on.
Right.
I made those notes to talk to Robert Stewart about those.
Okay.
Okay,
I can make the changes with Dennis on the plan that you have right now, showing the exact location of the house,
yeah,
62 by 30, and it can be put pretty much exactly where it's going to be.
and have him officially put the new driveway in and remove the old driveway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you'll give that updated plot plan to Robert Stewart?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Glenn, did the house moving back, does that make it too close to the septic at all? I mean, are we
No, we got
approving
one-
something that is going to be, oh, good, so it's fine.
That's why the box is there. The house has to be within that box.
All right.
All right, so,
Plenty of room.
Yeah.
You get 10 feet, 10, 16 feet. I already talked to Dennis about moving the house back a little bit toward the leach field. He said, no problem.
So the house moving a little bit more this way.
Yep, yep. That's only to clear that telephone pole, that's why.
Right.
Does the telephone pole show here?
Right there.
Is this the pole right there?
Go up a little bit more. More. Go north a little bit. Right? No, see
Oh,
the two guy wires?
This is Main Street here.
Right here. See where it says property line?
Yeah,
Right here?
Right, go down a little bit, you see a circle?
Oh, down,
here.
okay.
No,
Right there?
no,
yes,
that's the guy wire, the circle. There's the pole right there. That's the
okay,
guy wire, and that's another guy wire.
okay, so the pole is the
pole right there.
corner.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah, that's not good. That's right in front of your garage.
Yeah.
Right in front of you, that's in your middle of your driveway. That's not
Right.
good.
That's why we're gonna move it
I see,
out
okay,
a little bit.
okay.
Okay.
well, I think Jerry is very close. We have some details. I agree with Ellie. We don't want to hold him up. I want him to be able to go ahead and get the plan made.
Thank you.
But what I type up for a conditional approval, that certificate of approval says, if any changes are made to this plan, you must come back to the HDC for a new permit. So what I send to the building inspector has to be exactly what we agreed on.
Yeah.
And so it sounds to me like there are an awful lot of variables here for me to have the tools to send that
Well,
to
can I,
the building inspector. Go
can
ahead,
I
Ellie.
make a suggestion?
Sure.
8 weeks is a long ways time to wait, and that's why
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to help Mr. Carbone to move that forward. Can we meet within the next 2 weeks with the updated exclusion so that we know exactly what's there? And then there's no question that his permission is contingent on those exclusions or that the contingencies.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because this is like the third time he's come before us. I just feel bad that it's costing money not to get the plans ordered. But by the same token, we want the house to be as we've specified within the historic district. So even if you could type them up, Virginia, and we look at them and say, okay, this is what we need to have happen. Then Mr. Carbone knows exactly what he needs to do. He can order his plans and he can come back in 4 weeks and then we just finalize what the pictures look like, the lighting fixtures and so forth.
Yeah.
It's just a thought to keep the process moving, because if we wait another 4 weeks, then he's still 8 weeks out beyond that. Okay.
The changes that he has to make with the, oh dear, are we off?
No,
Oh,
No.
I
no,
can
we're
see
good.
you.
all right, sorry, something happened. The changes that he's going to ask his plan company to make are not huge changes.
Right,
at all.
right,
They're trim changes to
exactly.
Windows, so,
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with taking what Maddie has added to the drawing and making a copy of that.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it'd be really tough to send that site plan, move the house septic thing with drawings all over it, because that's pretty detailed. But and I agree, we could talk lighting later.
Right.
But I've got to send a visual that's
Clear.
and then if
Concise.
we have conditions, then I type the conditions up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but what the building inspector looks at needs to match the conditions.
Right.
We ran into a little problem with that in the past when they didn't.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why that plot plan has got to be accurate. If
Yes.
if the house is 62 feet, then that's got to show 62 feet there, not 65.
Yeah.
So that's if the house is going to
Yes.
move back 5 feet
Yes.
to get away from that pole, that plan, that's what should be filed with the
Yeah.
building inspector, not what we have now.
Right.
That's
That's
what needs to be updated so that it accurately reflects what's going where on the property.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a question on the return on the garage on the side of the house.
Yes.
How much of a return? That should be specified in whatever
Right.
inches or, so we have something to go by.
Let me see.
If I put a return at 6 inches and you want 10, we have a
So
problem.
this is what, can you see that?
I
This
would
is
need
the,
some sort of a spec on that to give to the drawer.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how you come up with how big a return, but just that it needed to extend from what the
Mhm.
plan showed. And I think that's what we had oh no, it's not even focusing.
Yeah.
That's what we had the builder do for the other main street house right there.
Yeah.
Some sort of a spec within, plus or minus an inch, so so the building inspector can say, yeah, it conforms to what you guys wanted.
Right.
I need something.
I don't even really love that one, Madeline, tell you the
Oh,
truth.
I know,
either.
but it was an improvement of just the
Yeah.
faux return. Because usually the whole side of the house would overhang, and it's not, it's flat with the facade.
Right, yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah, that's
That's easy to return.
Yeah.
yeah.
So you said, Jerry, you said that on the plan, that's a 6-inch return that was pictured?
No, I didn't say anything. I said,
Oh,
how much of a return do you want? So
yeah, it's
we
hard
can
to
just
know.
do a copy and say, here, here's the spec, build it.
Right.
Glenn, I don't even know where to start on that one.
Well, I don't know either, Madeline.
Yeah.
You know, part of what we're trying to do here is actually help, which one could argue is really not our function, but we're actually helping Mr. Carboni design the house.
Yeah.
What we should be doing is having him provide us with what we should be, you know, what we're expecting to see based on our conversations, and then we either approve it or we disapprove it. So
Right.
I mean, I can appreciate the collaborative process that we're doing, but it does make it challenging if you then start looking to us to come up with dimensions for things, and because that's
Not our purview.
I'll work with the designer and say, hey, listen, they want to return, make something that I like, and you probably would like it too, and I could present that
Yeah.
as part of the return. I think it's well within their scope. They're designers and they're architects. It shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you're probably right, Jerry. I mean, they're used to dealing with these kinds of
Probably,
things
yeah.
all the time, and
Yeah, all kinds of changes, change orders here and there. So, yeah, I can work with
Can't
them.
see anything in our design guidelines. It has specifically to do with returns. You know, I don't think there was any real rule of thumb when they were building these houses back 200 years ago. But you know what we're getting at. We want it to look like a historic property as much as you possibly can.
Sure.
Yeah, someone driving by wouldn't notice. If you've got the return there, they're not going to notice that it's a flat facade. It
Could
will
have been
give
4
the
inches,
illusion
yeah,
of
good.
being an overhang.
Right.
Unless you want to add the overhang.
I thought it looked like a little bit of an overhang, actually.
The front has an overhang, but the sides are just flat.
Did we talk about wide boards someplace else in the house?
Wide corner boards.
Okay, if you can put that down so I know what to tell the girl to do.
And you can tell on the front facade picture, you can see the corner boards are much wider there. And then the fascia boards in the peak, those should be a wide board under.
Yeah, just mark it down. I'll tell her what to do.
I'm kind of interested in Ellie's idea that we might have another meeting in 2 weeks to see this rather than a hand-drawn thing and me writing up 20 conditions on an approval. I don't have, well, I do have my calendar right beside me. I know it doesn't have to be on a Tuesday. I know Glenn's busy with planning board.
Right.
And I don't know if anybody else is interested in that, but I do appreciate weather and timelines and all of that. I don't know. I'm just tossing it out there and sort of agreeing with Ellie that we'd like to not hold
Yeah, so
things up.
if in 2 weeks we can get this wrapped up more concisely, then that leaves less to error, and it still helps Mr. Carbone move forward on his ordering his plans.
Yes.
So
Yeah, that's all I'm asking. I'd like to get the thing, at least the ball rolling, order the plans, because it did take a finite time to get the plans approved with all the codes. It's more involved than I thought it would be.
Right.
So if we decided to meet in, say, 2 weeks, Jerry, you could come back to us with these trim changes, adding, you'll go to the company and have the changes made and give us the updated.
I can have them done in probably 2 days.
Okay.
But I'll have
And
them-
also at that same meeting, we might as well make the decision on the lighting and the pathway and get it all done and put to bed, and then we wouldn't have any conditional approval have to happen if we can get the
But the
whole
mo-
thing done.
yeah, but
Wouldn't that
you-
be nice for you, Jerry, not to have to come back to us?
Oh, I don't mind.
That plot plan, that plot plan is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can get that
That's-
changed.
Okay,
So the house will be located exactly where it is with the right dimensions.
And the driveway located on the plot plan.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with that. If we can have you come back even in a week, if you think you can get this done with Dennis
Oh.
Quintel and those guys in a week. No?
I don't think Dennis, well, I can't speak for Dennis, but I know he's very busy. I'd
Yeah.
be surprised if he could do this in a week.
He's very
Okay.
Glenn, do you have a planning board meeting on the last Tuesday of January, the 26th?
I don't have one in Kingston, but I do have one in a town that I work for, so I would not be able to attend on the 26th.
Okay, because we want to make sure we choose a date in which we have a quorum. So how about the 27th?
27th is
Wednesday.
okay.
I
Which is a
can't,
Wednesday.
no, 27th, we also have a planning board meeting because that's for the Greenwood Development, is at 6:30 that night.
No,
Oh.
Yes, it is. It's on Wednesday, the 27th.
how did
Yes,
that
It
how
is.
did that happen?
I got it right here. It's Wednesday.
I
the
got it right
27th.
here.
Wow.
Wow.
Because that's what
Really?
it says. I'm not kidding.
Oh my God.
Yep, Wednesday, the 27th.
If that's wrong, then we got to do something else. But I put that down for that Wednesday night.
Right, it
Wow.
says public hearing, Wednesday, January 27th.
Huh.
Okay, well, I guess I was not up on that, but how about Thursday, the 28th?
That would work for me.
That works for me as well.
Yep.
Yes,
That work for you, Jerry?
it does.
So what we will do then is I will email you the list of changes. And Madeline, if you could actually even scan that
Sure, yeah.
and send it to me, I'll send it on to Jerry so you can bring it to your designer. Okay. And then
Fine.
Madeline, if you don't mind making notes on the side of the drawing that you did.
Sure.
And Virginia, if you have any notes, you
Yep.
could send them to me and I'll make sure that we
Get them all, sure, make a
Consolidate.
good list.
Yeah.
Sure.
and send it to Jerry. I've got kids coming tomorrow at 10, but I can get it done in the morning.
Okay.
After that, I'm toast. So,
Very, very good. Great.
and then you can get that to your designer
Right away. Yep.
and then call up Dennis Quintel, tell him to get on the plot plan.
Yep.
And then you need to get some lighting catalogs and just pick out something that's gonna look good, okay?
That's a light along
the walkway.
Lights in the walkway. And
Yeah.
I'll include that in the email that I send you tomorrow morning, okay?
Right, good. And as far as the vinyl color,
Perfect.
that's any one of those.
Fine.
That's fine.
Fine.
You don't make it really black like your realtor wants to do
no,
it. Do it
no.
like a medium gray is nice.
Yeah.
I'd leave it the way you have the picture.
Yeah, it's very pretty.
I
So
like
I
it a
think
lot.
that gray is a little too light, actually. I think like a medium gray would be really striking with the
It's
white.
too bright, it's too light,
Yeah,
a little darker, I think.
but the samples that you have here that you gave me, those are right in their good ballpark, I think. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
So
Great.
we're gonna continue this on Thursday, January 28th. All right.
At 7 o'clock?
Then with
Yeah,
me.
7
PM.
o'clock is good.
Okay.
I will let
7.
Susan Ayer know. She'll set up a Zoom meeting and I will send out the information for that.
Good.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Jerry, if you have any questions, give me a call or send me an email, okay?
Well, okay, thank you, board.
Thank
All
you.
right. We're getting there.
We're getting there.
And I'll bring your samples back to the town hall when I go down there, all right? And I'll leave them at the desk.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank
you very
you.
much.
All right,
Yeah.
thanks, Jerry. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Susan, we need to make sure that we legally post this and so forth because it's,
Okay,
An extra.
so I'll just post it as just a regular agenda then, or what do I call it? Not just a,
Continuation. continuation?
Well, it's an HDC meeting, but it just needs to be noticed appropriately, that's all.
Okay, I'll do that, no problem.
And I was noticing we lost our one member of the public. She gave up.
Yes, she did.
She was satisfied with our level of detail, so.
Yep.
Yep. But she wanted to see it situated on the property, and she got a chance to see what it was going to look like. So remember, I was going to send out friendly letters,
Yes,
and I sent out 14.
nice.
Because it's a very interesting piece of property. It sits right on the front of Main Street, and then it goes back and over, and then it goes back and over again.
Wow.
So there are two very narrow, well, they're not right-of-ways, they're part of the property, but it looks like 3 Legos hooked together.
Wow.
Right.
And so it's a strange piece of property, but there were butters all over the place. So I
Oh,
sent out a
wow.
lot of letters, and it worked.
Oh,
Thank
So somebody cared. She's 133 Main, and he's
Okay.
129. So she wanted to see what's happening, and I think that was good. And she
That's
must have
very
been
good.
satisfied because she didn't have any more questions.
Good,
what
excellent.
happened with the ADU?
Oh, I think that I talked with Robert Stewart today, and the septic is approved for a 4-bedroom house with an ADU. I think that Jerry just has that
As a selling feature?
in the plan. It is a selling feature, yeah. I don't know where he would put an ADU, whether he would build one. You don't have to have it attached to your house anymore. That's kind of a new thing. So it doesn't have to be an in-law apartment. It can be a carriage house. That's up to the buyers, I think.
And he
So-
could have the master bedroom as an ADU for that matter,
Yeah.
Yes,
over the
he
garage.
could. Yes, he could.
If once it's incorporated the house, it doesn't have to go before any other board anymore.
Right,
So
that's true.
exterior ADUs do, but not the interior ones.
Right. So that's a very big bedroom, and it's
Oh.
got access to a bathroom.
Yeah.
And so, but he said he told me, when we went through can I do a duplex? Can I do a this? Can I do a that? I think that he's planned that. So if the owner wants to do ADU, it may be a selling point for him.
Mhm.
And he's got a good potential there, but he's gonna let the owner make that step if he wants to.
I
Yes.
think
4
that's a
bedrooms
smart
is a
thing.
lot these days in a house.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
4 bedrooms is a good sized house, and
Yes,
that
it is.
master is very good size.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
I was gonna
Um,
ask if he's planning on doing an ADU, the driveway is much smaller now. So for parking, if he wanted to add more people living there, he may want to move the house forward and leave parking in the back if that was an issue, but
That's not our headache.
I know.
Let's not even go there, Maddie.
It is not my headache either.
I know.
He can't move the house forward because of the light of the telephone pole, remember?
Well, unless he moved it way forward, which he could get away with, but
Yeah, let's not even
That's not
go.
our headache.
yeah, yeah.
No, thank you. I lost my agenda, so maybe I didn't.
Well, Susan,
Yes.
before you go on to that, one of the things we had talked about very early on, and I realize we've moved away from the application now because Jerry's gone, but we talked about having some sense for how, from the street, how the house would be sited. In other words, would it have to be, because of the water table, would it have to stick up higher than other houses around it? So just a sort of an elevation view of what the actual siting would be. I mean, we mentioned it early on, but we haven't done anything with that really, and I don't.
Well,
didn't know if
I
it
don't
was-
think we could bring that up now with the applicant gone.
Okay.
Right.
Well, he did say he would, only 12 to 16 inches of the foundation would be showing.
Yeah, but that doesn't tell you how much they might have to fill that and grade it up to.
Okay, so maybe we can ask him that in our email.
Well, it sounds like because it's a flat lot, if you think of it, it's a flat lot. The foundation will stick up a certain amount and he's just gonna slope it up,
Guys, we need to stop talking about that because he's not here.
Okay,
I'm not comfortable going any more discussion on that house with him not present.
Okay, good point.
Okay,
good
please.
point.
Thank you.
All right. So we are going to move on to the 2021 calendar. All right. And there were 2 days that we're not going to be able to meet on our regular second Tuesday. So since I don't have a note of that, I think it's March 9th, it's voting. Is that true?
That's true.
Okay. So we can't meet on March 9th. We need to come up with an alternative date for that. All right. And I'm open to suggestions. I prefer not to do Monday nights because I have chorus, but I will skip chorus if we need to.
Well, unless you want me to skip Board of Selectmen, I can't do Monday nights either.
Okay, so that's fine. Then. Perfectly fine. Let me go get my, I suppose I can just get my email on this computer. So what nights I think we usually go to Wednesday, don't we?
If that works for people, it's just that we want to have a quorum, that's all.
Okay. So talk to me about
You do Wednesday
what
the
days?
10th.
Wednesday, the 10th, I cannot be there.
Okay.
Thursday, the 11th?
I may not be there if I have zoning that night, because that's the
Oh.
zoning night.
It doesn't have to be in the same week. It can be the previous week or the after week, just
Yeah.
so long as we notice it.
How about Wednesday the 17th?
Wednesday, the 17th is,
That's St. Patrick's Day.
right.
That's a national holiday in my house. Sorry. We don't celebrate Christmas, but we do celebrate St. Patty's Day.
That's pretty good. I think if I didn't know better, I'd say you were from Boston.
Actually from Quincy.
Oh, there you go. Close enough.
Yeah.
Oh,
How about the 18th of March?
18th is okay.
That's fine with me too.
That's fine.
Glenn, yes?
Nope, I have another town that I work for, and that's planning board night for them.
Okay,
So
How about March 4th? Do it the beginning of the month.
that's fine with me as well.
I can't do that either.
Oh, Glenn, come on now, dude. Work
Well, you don't need me.
Yes,
Well,
we do.
No, you don't.
And we may not have anything in March either, but
I know, watch this be all a moot point.
That's
All
true.
right, how about March 3rd, Wednesday, March 3rd, or wait a minute, Glenn, all the Wednesdays busy for you?
No.
How about
no,
March 3rd?
Wednesday, the 3rd is okay, I think. Yeah, it is.
yeah.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Good, good. All right. And then what's the other month, Susan?
Wait a second. Wednesday, March 3rd, 7 p.m.
Yeah,
It's December 14th. So she said, I think it's our regular meeting would be December 14th, and she wants that day. Ellen
Okay.
does. Oh, all right. So she wants, can the planning board have the first 2 Tuesdays in December, the 7th and 14th?
Okay.
So we cannot do HGC on the 14th of December.
Wednesday, the 15th?
That works for me.
That should be fine for me.
Okay.
Looks good.
Yes?
I'm sorry, I'm behind you folks. I was trying to do my calendar. Say the date again, please.
Wednesday, the 15th?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
Woo woo.
7 p.m. Okay, great. And I will post our changes. Okay, I'll post our calendar.
Awesome.
All right. I think that was all that I had on the agenda besides public comment. We have no public. So does anyone have anything else to discuss?
Not I.
I think we're discussed out.
I make a
long night.
motion that this meeting be adjourned.
Second,
Amen.
Second, let's do roll call. Susan Prescott, aye.
Virginia Morris, aye.
Ellie Alessio, aye.
Glenn, aye.
Madeline Willett, aye.
We
And
are
I'll bet Marissa's saying aye too.
aye. We're
Thank
adjourning
you.
at 8:39 PM.
All right, guys, see you in a couple of weeks.